Welcome back. Well, as Johnny Mullen departs, seamlessly slipping in, comes Chris Parsons. Chris, you're back in after what was a very, very busy Group C this morning in appalling conditions. It's been absolutely magnificent since. It's not going to rain now you come back, is it?
No, but I hear that there's fog forecast for daybreak.
Steady.
Which is at 6 a.m. or 5:59 to be precise.
Well, it's funny you should say that, actually, because I was talking to Johnny Malin when I came on a few minutes, well, it seems like a few minutes ago, it was about a couple of 3 hours ago, and we were talking about the fact that it can get misty and it can get nasty first thing in the morning, and he said, you know, this happens sometimes, and I thought, it might just happen because it was very damp. There's an awful lot of water about, and it might just get a bit foggy.
And humidity is very high.
Yep.
So, yeah, expect some mist or even fog first thing in the morning.
71 car with Oli Beretta is back and out on course here. They've had a mixed time of things, I'm afraid. Not reflected by the 51 car. Now, don't forget the 71 boys were the ones who let them interlope. They kind of hitched a ride, really, the 51 car, in order to qualify, because Fisichella, who's driving the class-leading GT car at the moment, binned it. They had to repair the wreck. He's still leading, but the 71 car, who did them the favour, really, finds itself, down in 6th in class, whereas the 51, which was completely rebuilt, now leads. And I'm just about to lead myself off. So, gentlemen, enjoy. I hope Stewie Hall will turn up just to keep you entertained. In the meantime, I'll leave everybody in the capable hands of these two licorice-voiced Lotharios, I think they've been described as.
Oh, well.
That's a first, isn't it?
Yes. Well, he's just about to get married again. I mean, like something.
Bless him. Oh, congratulations for that. Yes, they don't own Twitter accounts, so you'll have to all fall silent on in that regard. Yes, it's cups with string between, or indeed pigeons only for these two boys. But it will be entertaining. I'm going to love you and leave you. I'm going to take some rest, a little bit of sleep, and I will be back at, I think, 6 o'clock in the morning, which isn't long.
No, it's not long now.
Ta-ta.
No, just in time to see the fog come up.
Well, there we have it. And he has gone and he has unplugged his computer. I was quite worried about that, whether or not there was going to be a burst of flame. Everything was going to go well, but he didn't. It's all right. Right, well, we're still seeing an Audi domination of the first 3 places. 1, 2 and 4. Yes, I know 3 should be there too, but he's not. He's in 6th place. But the Fassler car is leading Tom Christensen at the wheel of number 2 at the moment. And those, of course, are the 2 of the heavier, slightly more the Tron Quattros cars, slightly more complex, but really doing the job. And then the number 4 car, which is due to, or has had, I think, a pit stop quite recently. I'm just going to pee by it, so obviously it's just had one. That's actually had a stop now.
Before I go, Neville, I'm going to leave my computer open. So if anyone wants to tweet, you can do at Carlton Kirby, CarltonKirby. And Chris Parsons is going to introduce himself to technology here. All you have to do is click on there, and you've got all your new interactions. There they are. When it pops up,
wonders will never cease.
You're away. I'm away as well. Right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. We've got 59 Funbacher car that is in the kitty litter and about to be towed out. You can see that on the screen that it's not going to be too long before it's moving again, and the number 4 Audi was in the pits a moment or 2 ago. That is going to be out very shortly. It is possible to get these cars. There's a strip of tarmac at the back of the gravel, and if you can get the car onto that, then usually that's sufficient to be able to drive it and get it back to the pits. coming up to 3 o'clock, coming up to, in fact, I suppose you could say half distance, 12 hours.
Absolutely.
And
one Sebring.
Yes, one Sebring.
Yes.
Yeah, and if you've never been there for 12 hours, you haven't lived.
That's a great race.
It's
if
a
you
great
can go
race,
to that one.
fantastic circuit, and I would suggest, you know, that there are 1 or 2 races and 1 or 2 circuits that if you love sports car racing and you love long distance racing, you should go to. Yeah. Obviously, Le Mans, to my mind, is the king, the queen. It's the emperor. It is fantastic.
Yeah.
You've got to go, I think, to Sebring. I think it's also quite a delightful experience to go to Daytona.
Oh yes, I've been to Daytona for about 15 years, and it's great fun. It's not the same level of sophistication as Sebring or Le Mans, but it's a good, honest sports car race, and it's a very enjoyable weekend in Florida. So well worth it.
Yeah, Spa I enjoy, and I suppose the other one is the Nürburgring, because if you don't go to the old ring, well, then you really miss something. Chevrolet Corvette overall classification still leading its category. We know that the Audis are dominating P1. Tom Kimber-Smith's done a wonderful job there, and I think that that really is one of the drives of the race so far, leading P2, and that certainly looks as if it's going to go the Eureka cars in 2nd and 3rd place, and that's still anybody's race there. And of course we've talked about Fisichella at some length. The ex-Ferrari Formula 1 driver seemingly is enjoying his racing hugely and has done very, very well, and that's number 59, the Farnbacher car that is having a change of driver and hopefully is going to have a bit of a change of luck.
Yes, they've having just got it out of the kitty litters.
Yes.
So off they go. Looks like they're going to have a tyre change at the same time as we were talking, or Johnny was talking about earlier. Different compounds for the night. It's getting cooler out there. Not that cold this morning, but no. So they may be living with the old compounds, but certainly changing tyres.
Don Merlin was quite fascinating, talking about driving the various categories of car and the various options that you have, and it does come back primarily to the fact that if you have got the quick car, a P1 car, then really you have got to take a certain amount of care about your overtaking. You've got to be able to predict what the guy is going to do in front. If he actually has got the book and knows the fact that he shouldn't actually take any action other than give you a little bit of room, that's fine. But equally, you've got to understand that you've got to actually give him some thought too. And all too often, there's not an awful lot of give and take. Sometimes the ego is at stake, and the really quick guy will carve you up, and vice versa. It happens.
But it was very interesting. I was hearing a discussion earlier on Radio Le Mans, our colleagues above us, and they were saying that this is always been a problem in sports car. Is it a problem? But it's a factor of sports car racing.
It is a factor. It is a factor. If you go back to Le Mans in the past, when there were 2 driver races, there was always a complaint. There were complaints from many of the drivers of the era. Sterling Moss didn't like driving here, and made it fairly clear that he didn't think it was much fun. Tony Brooks didn't. In fact, there were a whole load of drivers who found the fact that they had such a vast cross-section of abilities and of cars. That was partly the problem, the huge difference in cars. Now, there's not an enormous difference, strangely enough, in the maximum speed of these cars. It's the cornering speed that has changed, and changed quite dramatically, and that does cause some fun, and the braking.
Sterling Moss wrote a book about Le Mans in 1959, which I have at home, and he said then that this was a problem, and it's always been a problem, and in sports car racing always will be. You've got, I think, 40 rookie drivers at Le Mans this year, going up against 22 ex-Grand Prix drivers. So you've got a huge difference in abilities.
Yeah, 'twas
in
ever
the
thus.
cars.
There were, I mean, obviously there are more people with competition licenses today. Motor racing is more widespread worldwide than it was. But as we look here at number 58 being doctored, it is fair to say that even though now it's, shall we say, 3 drivers to a car as opposed to 1, 2, then it's a difference. Now that's the treatment that we were seeing after the very sad departure of one of the competitors, and the certainly the car owner being quite understanding about what was a grave disappointment to the young man, who unfortunately has a Ferrari that is no longer capable of giving a good account of itself. That's number 58.
Anyway, let's have a look and see who's coming up and who's not. Looking at the number 3 Audi with Romain Dumas at the wheel, he's turning the last lap at 3:32, whereas Pelika Molen in the Lola in front of him, 2 laps in front of him, is going 10 seconds a lap slower. So he's catching up. We were talking earlier about him going off because he's trying so hard to catch up that time that they've lost. And the 2 Lolas are 2 laps and 3 laps ahead. So he's got to keep those 10 seconds clicking up to cut down the gap.
You're absolutely right, and I think that he has got the pressure on. He had that little problem with the gravel. He's back out again, and as Johnny Mellon, prior to his departure, made it quite clear, he was driving every lap as if it was a qualification lap. It was win or bust as far as he's concerned.
Well,
he wants to be up there.
Actually, having said, Marcel Fassler's just turned in a 3:28, and Tom Christensen a 3:27.
Yeah, well, that's another good reason to have a bit of fun. You can see that with a pit stop to go, Christensen has got the gap down to 39 seconds.
Yes.
Now, even with the pit stop, I would suspect when they rejoin, it's going to be about 1:20, say just 2 minutes. I think he's managed to lop off around about 25 seconds in the last sort of couple of hours.
Yeah, the number 1 car can't afford to have an extra stop.
No.
They've got to stay out there, or they're going to have the Christensen car breathing down their neck.
Yeah, the big question, of course, is, as you've mentioned, the possibility of some mist. That isn't going to happen for a bit. That'll happen probably between around about 5 and 6 o'clock, something like that. But it, by its very nature, does mean that the definition of the circuit, just at the time you want to have a bit of definition, isn't there. There are always the difficult times of the day when you're going to drive this race here at Le Mans, and that's when it gets dark or when it gets light, and it's difficult to say which is the worst.
The getting light, I think, is the worst. Yeah. And that's when the mist comes down on Mulsanne. It's patchy usually, and always a problem whenever it comes. I'm certainly expecting it this year.
Very early on this afternoon, as we look there at the number 2 car, which is having that scheduled stop, and the windscreen's being cleaned, and I don't think there's a change of driving going. I didn't actually see that, yes, Alan McNeish is in the car. I just suddenly thought, I think I've got that wrong, and the McNeish popped up. So they've done a tyre change as well, and McNeish with the windscreen clean. Quite a difference in size between the 2 drivers. It's always been one of the interesting sides of long-distance sports car racing, that if you have drivers of different sizes, they've got to actually be able to apply the seat to a position where they're comfortable. They've now refueled the car, they're doing the tyres. It doesn't take very long to do the tyres, but it is the big service stop, so to speak. So when I said a few minutes ago, well, that gap is going to come out, it's going to come out a little bit, probably more than I thought, but we'll see.
It'll take a lap to unwind, so we'll see what happens there.
It'll equalise itself out in a moment or two. We'll see just where we're going in a moment or two. One of the things we did raise quite early on was somebody had mentioned earlier on that the only way to perhaps win this race for Toyota with the superior speed that they thought that the Audis had was to actually use the principles that John Wyer had, which was that basically if you can lap so quickly for so long, then it'll all be all right and nobody has to drive the car too fast or too long. But that's, of course, if you had 3 cars, you can go had somebody who could go out and break up the opposition. And in those days, it was very different because the car that did that very often didn't last. No. But nowadays, it has got much closer to a, for want of a better word, a flat-out blind. And, yes, and if the car doesn't last, that's just tough.
Going back to the Le Mans in '59, Aston Martin had 3 cars then.
Yeah.
And they sent Sterling Moss out to try and break the others, the Ferraris, which were the main competition.
Yeah. And when he didn't, Roy had to take over that. And then, of course, they had this dramatic thing where they had a tyre, a piece of tyre had come off of the inside, and nobody's thought to look at the inside of the tyre. They got an imbalance at the rear end, and so it hung around and lost itself a couple of laps. And it was only by keeping the pressure on and the Ferrari being a little bit marginal, I think, on cooling, that they forced the issue, and the Ferrari retired, and Aston got that famous 1-2 that they won in 1959.
Yeah. And but I don't think cooling is going to be a problem here this weekend, because the temperatures, although it turned out to be very nice on Saturday, temperatures are way down on what we have had at Le Mans, so cooling is not a problem. But going back to where you were, Neville, the question of numbers, Audi with 4 cars have got such a control of the race. And I can see that Toyota next year must come back with 3, if not 4 cars.
They've got to come back with at least 3 cars. They've got to come back with, for example, the under tray was in 2 pieces. You really need 1. 2 just makes a further complication. You've got to look at the areas in which you can, through development, cut down on the problems that might cause you, frankly, delay. That Bleekemolen car and the other Lola ahead of it, number 12, that Yanni is driving, that's a remarkable performance. Those 2 cars going very, very well there in 4th and 5th places, and although we know that Dumas would like to replace them, I think he's going to have his work cut out.
Yes, they've done very well, and there they are. They're running, as you say, they're running absolutely together. 2 laps apart, but they're together on the time sheets, or the time screens as we have these days.
Yes, it's been a very hard battle between that little bunch. They really have been going at it very, very hard. I'm just glancing down the list again to see, yes, Chandhok is at the wheel of number 22, and that has been a quick car. That was the one that David Bramham was driving earlier on, and it was putting in some horribly quick times, sort of around about 1 o'clock this morning. And he was proving that though no longer, shall we say, in the first bloom of youth, perhaps can still go when he wants to.
But just behind them in the other HPD is Danny Watts, lapping at 3:39, which is a very good pace. Such a pity that they lost all that time at the beginning with, I think it was a bearing in the gearbox. They had to replace a half shaft. They rolled the car off the grid and replaced a half shaft before they got going about 20 minutes later. And of course, they're playing catch up the whole time. But there they are. They're in 12th position now, and going for it. They got 4 LMP2s in front of them, so they're going very well. They did, the last lap was a 36, and the cars in front doing 47s and 49s, so they really are playing catch up well.
Yeah, Baz Landers having a tyre change, that pit stop over as he goes back in. He's back in 21st place. They've had their delays too, but the car's seemingly running quite well now, and I think he could probably pull up a little bit. It gets to the interesting stage now. We're past halfway, and you'll often get in the early hours morning a bit of a rush. We'll be seeing that very shortly in a few moments time, but for right now, let's have a little rest, go make a cup of tea, and join us again after the break, and we'll bring you up to date once more. You rejoin us back to Le Mans. We're looking a moment to do Lola number 30. We're now looking at number 13 just going out, having had a pit stop, and we're interestingly looking at the times now, because we reckon that the other Audi, the Dumas car, which had the spin, you may recall, about half an hour or so ago, had a tyre change, got rid of all the gravel. It is definitely closing up on the Bicamel and Lola number 13, and I think we could see possibly a change coming there. Unlikely that we're going to see a change with Gianni's Lola, however, number 12, which is running quite quickly, and he's quite a long way ahead of him, and I think he's going to have his work cut out to catch him.
Yes, he's got 2 laps on that car.
Yeah.
So that's a bit further up the road, but never mind, we've still got almost 12 hours to go. So as Neville said, put the kettle on, another cup of tea, and let's go through the night. We're looking out over the circuit from the Ford chicane, watching the horrific funfair on the other side of the circuit. I certainly wouldn't want to be on some of those rides over there. They wouldn't do my stomach any good at all.
No, I don't think it'd do any mine either. We've had a lot of people sort of saying what's happening to the Martin Brundle team, car number 42. His son Alex is at the wheel of that car at the moment. It had a problem. It had a problem, electrical problem, and it did fall back, but it's back up now to 18th place. He's not leading the class, but that doesn't mean to say that there aren't quite a lot of cars that are comparatively close together there. So it only has to be a few minor problems, ifs and buts and what have you, and he could leave up. Certainly, at the moment, I think in about, I'm just going to try and count very quickly, about 8th or 9th place in the class. I think he could get still into the first 3 with a bit of luck.
I think you're pushing it a bit.
Well, I'm trying to, you know. I mean, there's one thing that I have to say, and I think we all know this, that Martin really can drive still. He's by far and away the quickest of the 3 drivers in the car. Yeah. Number 3 is in.
And as I said earlier, I listened to an interview with Martin the other day, and he comes with the right attitude.
Oh yeah.
He was very much on the ball. He's always on the ball. That's taken. But he had his mind absolutely into Le Mans mode.
Oh yeah.
And of course, Martin's done Le Mans many times and knew exactly what he was taking on, and has got down to it very well indeed.
Somebody said, listen to this Audi, and I'm just going to keep quiet so you can hear the slight difference as it harvests its power. Without question, this is the shape of things to come, and of course the diesels make so much more simple this question of using the torque and the smooth progress of the cars, and in traffic I think they're easy to drive than the petrol cars. I think that's one of the reasons why they actually have the success.
The torque factor is very big. It's not just power, it's not just rev. Well, with the diesel, it's not
just ease of driving.
It's just ease of driving. You've got to have a tremendously strong transmission to take it, but they can, as you say, they can drive round people and they can overtake that much easier. It's all back to this overtaking thing, and they've got the twist to get it. And anyway, here comes number one in for its routine stop, or we expect it routine stop. Now, you'll notice that every time one of the hybrid Audis comes in, one of the mechanics puts his hand in the passenger door. Apparently, they have to switch off the electrics to let the power out of the system to avoid any problems. But that was a very quick stop.
That was a very, very quick stop indeed. I don't think we've seen a quicker stop than that by the Audi for a very long time.
Neville, did you notice them refueling it?
No, I don't think they did. I don't think that was a
routine stop.
I don't think it was a routine stop at all.
It was far too quick.
We'd anticipated, as you know, that if you look, that the cars roughly are stopping at the same time. It's fair to say, I think, that the 1 and 2 of the Audis, the e-tron cars, are probably slightly better on fuel, but there's not an enormous amount on it. However, they've had, numbers 1 and 3 have had 17 stops. McNeish's only had one, and that wasn't very long ago, was it, that he had his stop? So is that, or are we going to see a change of a situation here? Because I'm just looking to see...
Bit of a debate going on there in the Audi pit.
Yeah, there was a bit of a debate going on, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Here's number 1. Again, it seemingly is going well enough.
Well, we'll let you know how things
keep an eye on it.
Pan out over the next few hours.
That's all we can do. Let's keep an eye on it.
And with Romain Dumas lapping 3:31 this last lap, Bleekemolen, well, no, Bleekemolen must have been in the pits.
Yes, I think
a 5-minute lap.
Yeah, he had a...
But Neil Jani in the other Lola, a 3:39. So again, Dumas takes 8 seconds out of him.
Yeah,
he's chipping away there.
Yeah, Dumas is going to take that 5th place, I would think, comparatively soon. Within the next half hour, I would think, without much problem. But I'm quite interested to see what happens now with the battle between the first and second cars, which does seemingly indicate that they're having a bit of fun. And
we must look at Tom Kimber-Smith in the HPD, who's leading LMP2. He's really doing extremely well, and he's got a lap on the second car, which is one of the Orekas, and very good. And he's up to 7th place overall in the P2. Very good thing.
The Jan Magnussen car is still in the pit. Longish stop going on there for a car that's dropped down now to 33rd position. That's number 73. Bit of a surprise.
Yes, the two factory Corvettes really having problems now.
Yeah, they're normally so reliable, but the problems that they've had of, well, there was a wheel problem, we know about that. And there have been other little problems. This is number 3 coming in.
Here comes in Romain Dumas. So, and I wonder if there's going to be a driver change on this one.
Don't know. We should see in a moment.
I think Romain Dumas got in at the last stop, so he should be there for a little bit longer.
Stop bang on his marks. Windscreen clean.
This is an Ultra, one of the non-hybrid cars. So, but still, they're doing something in the. They're changing the drink bottle.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that on that one. Of course, there's no electrics to switch off. But very quick stop
and that's out again. Done a very quick stop. So let's just have a quick check on that. That's 17 stops. Only the McNeish car has made 16 stops.
And Neil Jani in in the Lola.
Johnny in the Lola, yeah.
But anyway, Alan McNish back out and up to speed again.
In there also, we're getting coverage of all these stops that are going on at the moment. There's number 49 having his 3,000 mile service, so to speak. There's no doubt about it that at this stage of the contest, if it's all going smoothly for you, you're sort of probably feeling a little bit more, how can we put it, confident. But this is when things can and do sometimes go a little wrong.
Just to explain what's going on here, I'm sure most of you do know that you're not allowed to change the tyres while you're refueling. So you see the car come to a halt, the tyres are put out, but they can't start that process until the refueling is stopped. And only 2 mechanics changing the tyres. The very strict rules at Le Mans always have been. In the early days, well, back into the 50s they actually had to have a plombier by each car when they were refueled, and the plombier had to
put the seals on to basically convince everybody that the car hadn't been, shall we say, tampered with if it had stopped by the side of the road. Now, you might say, how would anybody ever do such a thing? Well, it's very, very funny, but all sorts of funny things did happen in the 20s, in the 30s, into the 40s, and indeed into the 50s, where you could get, for example, a spanner would sort of turn up from nowhere, you know, on the floor. Quite unbelievable.
That happened into the 80s, and our very good friend Costas Loss broke down. And I believe he found a battery in the long grass very close to the car.
Very odd indeed.
Isn't that amazing?
People can be so absent-minded when they put things down.
Yes.
Yes.
And he got the car going again.
Yes.
But these days with transponders, I'm afraid you can't get away with things like that quite as easy.
Yeah. You see here what's going on, that you've got to, if you are going to do any other work on the car, therefore, and have more than 2 people, you've got to put it back, as the Americans put it, behind the wall. It isn't, it's put it in the garage. And that's why they do take the opportunity to do that if they have got anything else other than the routine to do.
He's got a problem.
He's got a problem. It doesn't want to fire up. Now, yes, it has, and away it goes. That was just one of those things that you really, really don't want. It's, you press the button and nothing happens. It's a click, and you press it again, and then suddenly it turns over, but it doesn't catch.
Looking at the GT Pro class, that's as always, that's turning out to be a real humdinger. And you've got Tony Villander in the Ferrari in first place, turning in 4-minute laps, with James Mello in second place, only a lap down, marginally quicker on 359s, and Darren Turner in the Aston on the same lap as the Mello Ferrari, again turning in identical laps, a 359.4. So they're really going at it. He's only 43 seconds behind, so that they can't afford to lose a second on that one.
Yeah, Darren Turner, actually, that's again a recovery, isn't it? That car has made it was well back, and seemingly, though not doing all the things that we'd like it to do, it's certainly not as far back as it was, and he is certainly in the first 3 in the class, which is for the Aston, since it had its problems.
Yeah, and I'm sure Aston are very pleased to be in front of Corvette the way they are, and see the Corvettes having their problems.
Yep.
Talking of Corvettes, there we are. One of the cars in the garage being worked on with our colleagues from Speed TV. I think that's Andrew Marriott, obviously getting to interview one of the drivers.
Well, we've just had the 12-hour bulletin come through, which doesn't tell us any more than we've already told you that we've still got the Audi number 1, Fassler Wheelers out leading Magnesian number 2, Bonomi in number 4, then Gianni with the Lola number 12. Bleekemolen still holding on to his 5th place, and still the other surviving, in fact all 4 surviving, but this is the one that's had more trouble than most, Dumas Audi in 6th place, and within striking distance, but he's yet to do it.
He's only 50 seconds behind now, and he's on an out lap, but Bleekemolen did a 43, and presumably Dumas will be doing 30, at least 10 seconds quicker. So
I reckon about half an hour, something like that. About 5 minutes ago, I probably was a little bit optimistic. I think it might be after his next stop, probably, if he manages at this present rate of closing. But whether or not he can actually increase that,
the Bleekemolen car is going slower.
Yeah,
there's no question about it. The last lap was 3:45, whereas the sister car is doing 35s.
Yeah.
So there seems to be a problem there. It's about 10 seconds a lap slower, and of course the Dumas car is catching it now hand over fist, and it's not long for that position, I'm afraid.
Undoubtedly, this question of the softer tyre during the night means that if you've got a good set of eyes, and people, for example, like Manish and Fassler do have a good set of eyes, they can go almost as quickly in the dark, and sometimes it's just that little bit easier. Certainly, it does seem that the really quick cars don't have quite so much trouble in traffic as they have in the daylight.
Well, you can pick things up so much,
I think so
well. The lights are very good, especially the Audi lights. They really are tremendous. Those stacks that they, great big stacks that they have at the front of thing. You can see there. You can just pick things out so clearly at night. See those 2 cars that might blend into the background during the day ahead of this car. This is Bleekemolen, was Bleekemolen. You could see them much clearer at night.
And we're watching the replay of the change of tyres, and you may wonder that perhaps don't have the variety of shots that we do see sometimes. It's because at this time some of the cameras on the circuit are off, and we don't have full coverage of the type that we have during the daylight. And to some point it actually is helpful to us, because it enables us to talk a little about, in general terms, as to what's going on.
I hope none of our younger colleagues are listening, Neville, because they would make rather derogatory comments about that, about the 2 old boys.
Well, yes, indeed,
chewing over the history of this incredible race.
Well, it is a race that has, of course, such an enormous history. I mean, originally when Le Mans took place in the 1920s, it was a shop window, if you like, not just for cars. It was a shop window to show just how efficient your electrics were, because lights on cars were one of the things that did cause problems, as brakes did. And it was the development over the years that saw brakes, or engines, or lights, even hoods on the open cars. It was part and parcel of the Mans regulations that you had to run an hour with the hood up and things like that. And even into the 50s, they were in the 60s, they were making open cars have a type of all-weather protection which looked quite ridiculous on things like a D-type Jaguar.
One year they made them put on full width screens, and they look ridiculous, didn't they?
They certainly did, but not looking ridiculous at all at the moment. The Audis as back into the race goes. Number 3, the Dumas car. We're coming up to a break. We're coming up to an opportunity for you, if you want to go and make another cup of tea. And when you have, come back again. We shall be back again with coverage of what is the 80th running of the Le Mans 24-hour race 2012.
Thank you, Neville.
We're back at Le Mans. We're here watching the 24-hour race, and we're looking to see if there's any sign at all of the mist that was predicted. And it doesn't look perhaps quite as clear, but I think that's just a question of the fact that we've got just a little bit of haze, I think, coming up now with the lights that you can see looking at the cars climbing.
Well, Neville, when I drove into the circuit about just over an hour ago, the number of campsites having barbecues, I think that's probably a big factor.
Where the haze of smoke is coming from. Yes, I thought that too.
All sorts of hazes, I tell you. I had to dodge the drunks on the way in, but just about made it.
Now,
there was a lot of partying going on.
The McNish car with 1 minute and 20 seconds between himself and a lap time of 3:28 as opposed to 3:31 faster. That's 3 seconds to the good at the moment. That car showing that it's had one stop less at 16, so it must have one that's fairly close on, I would have thought.
Yes, but let's go down the Romain Dumas. Sorry to keep on going back to this one. He's got it down to 20 seconds now, so it's only a couple of laps.
Yeah.
And that one, that position should change.
Yeah, we reckon that would happen, and whether or not he's going to be able to go all the way actually and make it 4 Audis in a row remains to be seen. But I think he's going to have his work cut out to manage that one. But who knows? It could happen. Currently, the indications are that we're not going to have a repeat of the dramatic wet weather that we had yesterday morning when we were talking about the Group C race. The actual forecast was that it was going to be a great deal more unpleasant than it's turned out to be, but I'm happy to tell you it's not been that way.
But again, coming in, I was listening, you could hear the cars from the middle of Le Mans, and that indicates a southerly wind, which is not good for the weather forecast, but for the weather. That's the way the rain comes in. But we'll be able to see a little bit more about that once the sun's up about 6 o'clock, 6:30, if we can see through any mist that there might be at that point. See whether the clouds are coming back in as well. Now we've got a car stopped.
Yes.
And he's obviously spun because he's pointing the wrong way. And as you can see on your screen, it's the Zytek Dolan's car, number 38. I was looking at the other car that we were looking at in the pits that had been stationary for quite a while, which was number 40. But that doesn't look good at all. I think he's facing the wrong direction, which is one point that's not going to assist him too much, because he's got to turn it round before he is going anywhere. But he does seem to be, I have to say, as dead as the dodo, and it not going anywhere at all at the moment. Here we're going to see it. He seems to have lost his lights.
Yeah. It looks as if it's had an electrical failure of sorts.
Yes, coming down the hill. I think that's probably why he misjudged the corner.
Yeah. And I'd say that is terminal insofar as, unless he can actually get some lights again, then he's not going to make it back to the pits, and that is going to see, sadly, the departure of that car from the contest back in 18th place.
That car had an off in practice and went into the barriers, but they repaired it. It wasn't too badly damaged, but it seems that there are problems there now. Although it's only the lights that have gone out, which is not very helpful at 3:42 in the morning, but presumably if they can get it back, that something can be done about that. And here we have number 15 in for what looks like a routine stop, just being refueled.
Oh, this has been a long battle to get his car back out again. It certainly has had its fair share of problems. But as in comes number 4, Audi, for what is a scheduled stop.
One of the ultra cars, the non-hybrid car, in for what looks like a routine stop.
Yep.
Refueling, change of drink bottle, and are they going? Yes, looks like they're going to do. Or they're looking at the tyres. Yes, they are doing the tyres. So
yeah, decision taken.
This is not like Formula One, where you can have all sorts, any numbers of mechanics on the cars. You're only allowed those 2 guys to change all 4 wheels. Back down, last one, and then they'll be off. Having a bit of a problem, bit of a sticky wheel. And off it goes.
Yeah, back into the race.
The Toyotas, of course, were using just electric power during the down the pit road, which was eerie to listen to them, because they made absolutely no noise at all, apart from the crunching of the gravel. Yeah, amazing.
There was a situation that arose that because they are supposedly 4-wheel drive as opposed to 2-wheel drive, they were not allowed to use the electricity to power the Audis in and out.
No.
Nobody worked out quite why this regulation had come into place and why it had been applied in such a fashion, but I'm quite sure that there was a very good reason for it in the first place. But I would think it's something that's probably going to fall on by the wayside in the end. Now, the car that had stopped is being pulled across the gravel, and I think is not going anywhere. I think when it has been pulled across the gravel, it's going to be parked out of harm's way by the side of the track, unless, of course, they can put it onto the tarmac and find some means of getting power into it again. But I don't think that's going to happen.
Presumably he couldn't restart it.
No.
And that's why they're having to pull it back. Otherwise he could have done a quick turn and off he went. But doesn't seem to be happening.
Yeah, I don't think he's got any form of power at all that he can do anything. And he was
back to quickly, Neville. There's a shot of him spinning again, and although his brake lights are working, no other lights seem to be
his
working
lights were out. His lights were out when he was coming down the hill, and as you so rightly said, he was judged the situation.
Roland Dumas is now 1.5 seconds behind the Lola of Bleekemolen. So
that is going to change.
But they've got the lights back.
They've got the lights back on again now.
Yeah, so they've got some power, and it's underpowered.
He started it. Now, that is strange.
Good stuff.
I'd love an explanation as to why all the lights went out, why there was no power. All of a sudden, you tow it over there and it springs into life and bobs your uncle, so to speak.
I wonder if they've got a problem with the isolator switch or something.
It could well have been.
We'll see if he comes in. We're situated just on the pit in lane, so we'll see if he comes in at the end of this lap. Now Dumas is 0.6 of a second behind Bleekemolen, so
we're going to see a change in that position as we predicted.
Yes, when they come round next time. Keeping an eye also on the GT Pro class with Verlander leading it in the Ferrari, and all 4 leading cars setting much the same times, 4 minutes, 3:59, 4:3s. But the Aston chasing hard the Ferraris, and Darren Turner actually was a little bit slower last lap, doing a 4:03.
And that was number 12, Lola of Johnny, coming in for a scheduled stop. And now we see that Dumas has made up that 5th position and has moved into 5th. So when the pit stop for number 12 is over, for Gianni's car, when the Dumas car number 3 has got a little further, we'll be able to look probably over the next hour or so, and if my maths is as good as I think it is, famous last words, I can probably give you some idea as to whether or not he's going to get caught before the end of the race, well, all things remaining equal.
Romain Dumas at the moment is showing as being 3 laps down. It could well be that with this pit stop they pull back a lap, although it's a pretty quick stop. He's still got quite a way to go to catch that car up.
Well, if it's 3 laps, you could say it's roughly 3 sheets and 9, 4, 9, 10. It's around about 10.5 minutes. And if he's doing it on the basis of, shall we say, 5 seconds a lap, right? Yeah.
Neville,
right.
I would remind you, it's 3:48 in the morning.
5 seconds a lap. I suppose it is possible, but I think it's a pretty tall order. We'll see.
Hang on, we'll get the calculator out and have a look at that one. See how you're doing.
Yeah, we'll see.
So you said 10 minutes, which is 600 seconds. Well, 60 laps, isn't it?
Yeah.
60 laps.
So 6 hours, 6, 7 hours? Say 7 hours. It's on, isn't it?
It's on.
It's on, yeah.
They've got the time to do it.
So, you know, long after I've sort of gone to my little bed, which I shall do probably about 6 o'clock this morning, and that's going to be in around about 2 hours' time, isn't it? Something like that.
Yeah.
6, 7, 8, about 10 o'clock this morning, you're going to find out if my guesstimate has any water in it at all, or whether it's just a decision of an aged mind trying to sort out what sounds fairly simple maths, but of course it all depends entirely whether each car goes through the whole thing without any dramas, and we all know full well that that isn't the way sometimes things work out. Here is number 1, and moving quickly. To 102 laps completed. The previous lap of Alan McNeish was 3 seconds faster. I'm looking at just the idea as to where he might have stolen a little bit back. And wow, that's leaping into the air over the curbing. If that comes to a halt without hitting the barrier, I will be very surprised.
He just got away with it.
Just got away with it, but my goodness me, that was close. Very close indeed. That was the antics of number 17.
That's the dome.
Manassian, Nicholas Manassian, who I would think will be, shall we say, breathing a little heavier by now.
Now we've got, I think, the Simon Dolan car coming into the pits, followed by one of the Audis who's
being
flashing
held up.
him. Yes,
I'm not very happy at all at being held up.
No, he's flashing him. Here he comes in, and the Audi is not at all happy. I think Simon Dolan's obviously got real problems. Because both cars are allowed the same speed in the pits.
Yeah.
Simon Dolan obviously couldn't make that speed. Whereas
Audi number 2 is Alan McNeish, and he is not a happy bunny, is he?
No.
No, he came in there and felt that he was losing probably as much, I'd say, at 10 seconds, 10, 12 seconds.
Yes.
Which, you know, is taking him 10 to 12 laps to make up again.
Yeah.
And he just really didn't need that.
Yes, you really come in quickly. Now, interesting there, you're looking at these, the mechanics looking at the tyres.
Yeah.
They were looking through the new holes that these cars have to have on top of the wheel arches.
Well, this was supposedly one of the measures that had been taken to eliminate the possibility of the car having a little flight.
3 or 4 years ago, there was a spate of these cars taking off, and still very much in everyone's minds of how to stop it. You've got the dorsal fin, which we've seen on all of the prototypes now. Started off on LMP1, now the LMP2s have to have it as well. But the hole over the wheels is another measure that's been brought in, although I read that it's not conclusive and there's still more work to be done.
Well, I think there is. I think the dorsal fin has its place, but I'm not too sure about the gap over the tyres, over the mudguards, that this is doing the job at all. Originally there were louvers there which were primarily there for 2 reasons. One, a little bit of cooling for the tyre, and 2, it seemed like a good idea at the time, without interfering too much with the aerodynamics. What has happened is that this was the cure-all of the flight situation, and as we have seen already today, or rather yesterday, that isn't exactly how it worked out in the end. So I think that it's back to the drawing board. It's all too difficult to make procrastinations of this sort and get it right every time, and anything or any effort made to create a safer environment for a racing driver is to be welcomed. But there's always this question of the fact that you cannot really think of everything.
Right, well, we're waiting for Neil Jani to come back round, and so that we can see. We still haven't got an out lap time, so it'll be a few more minutes before we can see that the Dumas car is showing 2 laps down on the Lola. So we're waiting to get the 2 cars up to speed, and then we can give you an update on that position.
The young Irishman Brendan Hartley at the wheel of number 48 now. Not perhaps the easiest of runs. The car has had its good moments and its bad moments, and I think it's been a little bit of a mixed race for them.
And just looking at Danny Watts, actually that last lap wasn't that quick. It was a 38, whereas Karen Chanduk in the other HPD just in front of him did a 3:35. So a little bit of a gap there, but the Oreca just in front of them is doing a 44. So they're catching him again, well over 5 seconds a lap.
Yeah.
So, and as he's only 22 seconds in front of them, again we shall see those 2 HPDs running at the moment in 10th and 11th, coming up into 9th, and also challenging Iari in the other Oreca.
Yeah, and another interesting little battle that's beginning to open up a little bit. Keep an eye to it if you are sort of wondering when you see Jamie Mellow's Ferrari and the Aston Martin, which you may see a view of in the next few minutes or so. Those cars are getting closer, there's no doubt about it, but here still more problems, and still delay in the pits as cleaning the windscreen there, number 97. That's the Aston Martin that we mentioned, and that car is in for a pit stop. It's currently losing a little bit of ground, but I can't see that it's going to be stuck there for too long, and will be back out, and we could see a change of position ere too long. They're changing tyres on it, so it's going to be a little bit longer. And as we've said, the limitation on the number of people there can go into. Now the front wheel's going on a little bit longer before he departs, but all the windscreen's been cleaned, and the car has been refueled. You can't put the tyres on until it has been refueled. Last tyre taken off, new wheel goes on. 97, you can see on the board, is off the jack. Does it restart? Does it go back? And it's reluctant to start. It just doesn't want to burst into life. And I think we're going to have to wait for a moment or two till we come back to see whether that car... No, it's back in the race. So, Aston back in. You rejoin us back at Le Mans with some tired people now sort of in the pits as you look at a replay of the change of wheels on the number 4 Audi, which is in 3rd place. The battle continuing. Now we've got Audi's 1st, 2nd, 3rd and 5th, and we worked out a while ago that if we go on at this rate, it would probably be going to take another 4 or 5 hours before we had a situation, everything remaining equal, of the cars being in the first 4 places. And that was a lockup of somebody coming down there.
Yes, it's a replay.
It's a replay. We're not quite sure why we're getting the replay, where we got the replay at that point in time.
Now there's the big wheel, and that's right opposite us, isn't it, Neville?
Yep.
And although there don't seem to be many people on it at this time
no,
of
I don't
night.
think they want to go round on it right now. And as we look down now, we've got the overall classification: Audi number 1 and 2 and 4. That's the first 3 cars. Then the Lola, Toyota engine Lola in 4th position. The remaining 4th place car, the last of the Audis, there in 5th place. And then we look back down and we see where we've had the Dumas car, which took Bleekemolen. We reckon we'll catch Jarny, and the Kimber Smith car that has also gone so well. But that, of course, don't forget, is the leading car in its class in P2. That is the leading car in its class.
Up into 7th place.
Yeah, overall, which is
Terrific,
pretty remarkable.
Yes.
Pretty remarkable. Yeah, we've got the first 3, in fact, of those cars in 7th, 8th and 9th places. And they're all fairly close. I think there's a reason to sort of suppose that we could get a little battle developing there. Each of them ahead of the Chandhook car, number 22, the car that David Brown was going so quickly, and the Watts car, number 21. And then we look at the rest of the P2 cars. And for those of you who are still following the signs of how badly Martin Brundle and his son are doing, that car is now 18th overall. So they're all close, but I think there's some way to go before that situation works itself out to any form of conclusion that could be, shall we say, in the favour of the family, the Brundle family. Martin, of course, drove a superb race last year in the one race that he drove in America when he did the 24-hour race.
Now there's the Krone Ferrari being pushed into the garage. That car being run by long-term sports car man Jeff Hazel, who was with Spice, and before that he was with the Williams Formula One team, but he's overseeing that operation.
Nicely turned out car, actually.
Nice car, yes. Yeah. And another Ferrari going inside, number 61. So Ferrari's going into the garage time. It does happen at this time in the morning. You get a lot of changes.
Yes, it's funny, these hours now that leads up towards daylight, you can get an awful lot of funny things happening that you're not expecting. Now, that does seem to be indicating mist to me, or is it just a trick of the light we've got with cameras. It's difficult to say, isn't it? But it did seem to be a little bit more difficult to see than we anticipated.
Now there's number 13. That's
the Rebellion car.
That is the Bleekemolen
yes,
car.
that's 6th in its class.
That car seems to be nursing a problem because it's consistently 5 to 8 seconds slower than the sister car.
Yeah, it's not as quick as it was, is it? It's not as happy as it was.
No. We'll see, you know, when the drivers change over in a little while, whether it's driver or whether it is the car nursing a problem.
Well, Jerome Bleekemolen usually is more than able to cope with a situation like this, and I do suspect that it probably isn't quite as healthy as it was.
Yeah, the Agros Ferrari that we've just seen pushed into the garage was in 4th place in the AM class, the GT AM class.
Yeah.
So yeah, they won't want to lose time. Hopefully we'll get an update on what is going on in that garage.
Yeah.
And when the Aston made its pit stop, I'm afraid to say that it lost a place to Wolf Hensler's Porsche. So we now have in the Pro GT class 2 Ferraris, Philander and Mello up front, followed by Heinzler in the Porsche and the Aston 4th. But
yes,
none of the normal Corvettes.
No, the Corvettes, which normally are basically almost, you can say, bulletproof, have not had a very good run. They've had their fair share of problems. But the Aston, on the other hand, has had problems. It's had 2 long stops that the others haven't had. But this might be perhaps still a chance there of it moving up in that little group. The leading car in for scheduled stop as well. Back into the race now. Again, it was quite a quick one. There was no sort of cause to have any concern at all.
Just fuel and off it goes.
Yeah. Seems to go sort of certainly a couple of stops without tyres or anything else like that. Yeah. And there's been no indication of any other problems. They've been very careful not to use curbs too hard. Both the Audi's numbers 1 and 2 there have been very anxious to sort of protect the cars a little bit rather than risk the necessity to look at suspension and things like that, and there doesn't seem to have been any braking problems at all with the car so far.
There's a very good film, Audi film, on YouTube you can watch about last year's race. You know, that team in last year's race, the car being engineered by Lena Gade, and very good film. Do try and watch it sometime. Not when the race is going on, of course, and Eurosport is, you're glued to the Eurosport coverage, but tomorrow or the day after, do watch that film.
Yeah, when you can actually compare also the performance of what was a very, very closely fought contest last year.
Yes. We've got a yellow flag at post number 61. And I'm just trying to look and see where that is. It looks to me like it's the second chicane on Mulsanne. So we'll wait and see. And there's the Straka car being refueled with Danny Watts in it. Mark Cole's favourite driver from his village, Thornborough in Buckinghamshire. No doubt some of the regulars at the 2 brewers, Andy and Val's pub, and there is back to the
now that might be the reason that we were looking for.
Yes.
And what is it?
It's a Zytek, and
can't see the number on it.
Can't see the number on it, no. But anyway, so Danny Watts is back out, and there's a very grainy picture of that Zytek off at, we think, the second chicane on Mulsanne. as one of the Corvettes makes it back out onto the circuit. Now that's been in the garage for a long time.
That's the Ollie Gavin car.
8th in class, yes.
Yeah, which is back now in 43rd place. He's got time to make up some positions, but he's not got, shall we say, a great chance of finishing as far up as we normally expect these cars to be. They've had a very troubled race.
Yes, he's done 156 laps, and the leader of the class has done 183, so long way down.
Yeah.
And Simon Dolan in the Zytek that we saw, he's slipping down as well. He's in the pits, obviously having that electrical problem attended to. One of the Corvette mechanics saying happy Father's Day.
That reminds me, actually, that somebody sent me a card and told me to open it today when I get back to the motorhome. I must do that.
Yes, I shall look forward to hearing from my children as well. Timothy, Lucy and Georgina, come on, I expect to hear from you today.
Well, yes, quite right. I don't suppose any of mine are watching. I've got a pretty fair feeling that one's in the pits working here. One will be asleep in bed, and the other one is at Silverstone.
Yes, well, I hope Timothy's and his family, Sue and Jensen, are watching in Singapore, because, of course, it's breakfast time for them, so I hope they're having a good breakfast, and please think of the old man.
Yes, still working desperately to try and make an honest bob.
Absolutely. There we are. Right, we're told that car number 42 has rejoined. That's the Zytek, the LMP2 Zytek. So,
well, would that be the car that we weren't able to identify? And let us keep an eye open and see if it arrives back at the end of the pit road.
That is the Brundle car. But it was being driven by Lucas Ordonez from Spain at the time. So let's hope he does get it back, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Well, it was in 18th place. I haven't seen the car at all recently.
No, well, we'll track it and see if he comes in. But he didn't lose too much time there anyway.
No.
And they're 2 laps down on the car in front on the 17th position. So they aren't really within shouting distance of that car.
Some time ago, I was getting quite excited about the gap between the first and second place car, the Fassler and McNish Audis. And I have to say that there has been indeed a difference. It's a matter of some 2 seconds in the gap. So nobody actually is sort of gaining a great handful over that. And the McNish car is due another stop, one would think, soon, because the Fassler car has had one. It's had 18 stops. And we've got a yellow flag out now where?
Post 76, which is Mulsanne corner.
Yeah,
so we've lost someone down there.
Unless it's the car that was moved a bit further down the road.
It could well be the Zytek.
I can see much waving of flag there, but it didn't help at all.
No. One thing to look out for, there's one of the Corvettes coming back into the pits.
Yeah.
So there we are. One thing to look out for, you can see in the picture now, the white lights are the prototypes, the yellow lights are the GT cars. Going back to the problem of overtaking, the Le Mans organisers took the very sensible decision of having different coloured lights, so that the slower cars in both classes could see exactly what's coming up on them, whether it's another a GTP, an LMP car, or whether it's a GT.
That's 42.
So he's got it back to the pits.
Yeah.
And
that, I'm 99% sure that's the car that we saw a little earlier on that was off and stopped.
And it's back out. They've given it a bit of a check, and off it goes again.
So it looks as if he probably outbraked himself or something of the sort.
Well, we've got up on our screens now car number 23, which
contact
is the Areca Nissan. Has contact at post 76, which is the Mulsanne car. And here we have a picture of him, of it. Yes.
Yep.
He loses it on braking and straight into the tar wall.
Into the tar wall. Yeah.
So now we know what happened there.
Yeah. So that would seemingly mean that car is certainly damaged at the rate at which he went in there.
Yeah, that's Olivier Lombard was driving the car at the time, and the car was in 14th position, so it's one of the LMP2 cars, and that was in 14th position, so it went in fairly hard, but I would think that if he may be able to drive it back out. And there's the Corvette back in the pits.
Yeah, that's the car that has been in now and had transmission problems, and it looks as if it's transmission problems all over again with that car. Corvettes, as we've said,
that's the Ollie Gavin car again, I'm afraid. That's been in for a long time and just went out and did, what, one lap, I think?
Yeah, pretty well bomb-proof, but it's just not actually working out as we had hoped it would for him. He's having real problems with it. Let's have a look and see where we've got now with another man who has some problems. It looks as if that is still an ongoing situation.
A rebuild going on. Now, we've still got the yellow flag at Mulsanne, but I don't think they're going to have to put the pace car out. It was the safety car out. It was a long way off the circuit, so presumably they'll be able to.
As long as it hasn't damaged the barrier that been hit, because there was a fair amount of protection from the tyre wall. And it looks here as that's where we're just seeing a replay of that incident where it hits the tyre wall. But no further news on it as to whether the car has restarted, whether it's going to get back here or not. And car number 23 has rejoined, says the notes now, so I think we could confidently expect he's going to arrive back here shortly. All things being equal for...
he's going to need a bit of a check over after
3,000 miles service.
Well, I think maybe more than a 3,000 miles service.
Yes, I think so. Undoubtedly. On board with car number 3. And he did use the curb then. Now, this is the Dumas car, which is now completed 200 laps as opposed to 202 laps of the Gianni Lola.
But again, he took another 4 seconds off in that lap, or nearly 4 seconds, so
he's still on schedule, isn't he? I said, about 10 o'clock in the morning, between 10 and 11, all things being equal, as Johnny Nolan put it, if he does every lap as it's a qualifying lap and he doesn't fall over, then he could very well make it 4 Audis in a row.
Yes.
Could be.
Yeah.
It's a fascination anyway. Let's face it, Audi have put a huge effort into this. They put a huge effort indeed into long distance racing now over a lengthy period, and I'm delighted that they have achieved so much success.
And they're pushing their technology, the hybrid systems. and the diesel, showing that a diesel car can win the Le Mans 24 hours, and now showing that the way in the hybrids, Audi have done it extremely well.
Yes, some years ago, when we were first hearing that there was going to be a diesel cars taking part in the Le Mans 24-hour race, I predicted it wouldn't be too long before they were able to wrest away the challenge of a 24-hour race, and I'm happy to say I was proved to be correct. And I'm one of those people who has been converted to running a diesel car for quite a long time. I run both diesel and petrol, so I've got a reasonable opportunity of judging between the two, and there's no doubt about it that the diesel car is easier to drive in many ways and is certainly a lot more easy on the pocket. Join us again and we'll tell you how the diesels are going in a few moments. Well, back at Le Mans, I was going to say almost while you were sleeping, but I don't think you are asleep, and I'm certainly not asleep. The car that we were wondering about, number 23, has made it back here. He's tucked away in the pit, and they've already got the bonnet off, and I've no doubt we should be having a further look as they examine it to see whether or not they can get it back into Vettel and out on the track again. Right on his mark, in fact just a little bit over his mark by about 6 inches or so, came the leading car, and I see that we've got a yellow out now.
I think we're getting to know where 61 is. It's the second chicane on Mulsanne,
and it seems as that's being a place that's attracting cars that perhaps are running a little short of brakes. I wouldn't have thought so. No, I think it's more likely to be that if there is any mist, it's there that is causing perhaps a little lack of definition in the braking point.
And of course, this is the low point for the drivers as well. And you know, 4:21 in the morning, there are drivers out there that are feeling the pace a bit. So we'll no doubt get a picture of that car. But as you said earlier, Neville, they don't have all the cameras working at this time of day, and so we have to rely on the fixed cameras for that sort of thing. But there's the electrics being put back on, fire the Audi up, and off they go.
It was a nice quick stop. I was actually staring at the rear end of that car because it looked as if at some time or other it might have been clipped or clipped something, but I think it was my imagination rather than anything else, and it was just a question of the pattern, or the dirt pattern on the car from the rigours of the night.
Now, Neville, that is interesting because the car that stopped at the chicane on Mulsanne is the Wolf Heinzler Porsche, which has given the Aston of Darren Turner.
There is an Audi sideways, there is an Audi going backwards, there is an Audi in deep trouble on the grass and stopped in the opposite direction to that which it should be. Now I think they know about it, and I think that the car that had that happen was the erstwhile leading car of Fassler, and I think he lost it on the first lap out of the pits.
Yep.
And McNeish has taken the lead, and I haven't seen any sign of that car
consternation
coming back towards us. You can see probably there is a little bit of unhappiness down there in the pits. I saw the good doctor's impression was not one that he was happy, and I think that the car probably will be capable of restarting, but not straight away. Now I think we're going to see a replay what happens.
This is the Porsche curves.
Yeah, down the Porsche curves.
Runs out of road.
Yeah, gets himself onto the grass, goes through not quite a full 360, and is going backwards up the grass.
Yes, we probably may well have lost the rear wing, and that was Marcel Fassler.
Yeah, something there isn't quite as they would like it to be.
And we'll tell you if we see the car come in.
Yeah.
Because we are just at the entrance to the pit road, And we'll see the number 3 going past the Romain Dumas Audi.
Yeah,
there we are. So lots of changes now.
That was his first lap out of the pits after that pit stop. And we don't know why. We don't know any more than we have told you, because the car has not yet come round. It has not yet come into the pits. We don't know whether it is restarted, but we know that the number 2 car is in the lead, and firmly so now.
We're waiting to see what happens. Anyway,
I'm just looking to see whether we can see any sign of whether the car has restarted, but there's no indication that it has.
Number 2 coming down towards Tetra Rouge, and onto the Mulsanne straight.
That's Alan McNeish at the wheel of that car at the moment. Now 42 years old, not perhaps the most senior of the Audi drivers, but one with a whole package of experience. And
there's the Brundle Nissan getting
a service, with the new front end going on to that.
No, sorry.
No,
it's
that's
the
not that car. That's the
Olivia
Nissan
Lombard car. That's the one that went off
before. Yes, that's the car that went off before.
No sign of the number 1 Audi yet.
No.
So,
I'm beginning to wonder whether that car is going to be able
the next
to restart.
Next car down the road is Oliver Jarvis in the sister car, the number 4, the Ultra.
Now here is number 1. No, it's not number 1, is it? This is number 2 in first place. That really...
There's number 4 coming in, so Oliver Jarvis, Ollie Jarvis in the number 4 Audi, the Ultra car, the non-hybrid. So
yeah, we've got to look and try and work our way out of this one, because they're still saying that we're looking at number 1, but I don't think we are looking at number 1. And I think that the driver of number 1 is back. And I think that the car is still out on the circuit.
Reinhold
Jost there, standing outside, and I don't think I'd like to meet him right now.
No, there's number 4 being refettled.
Yeah.
Now let's have a look. Ollie Jarvis is only a lap down, so on number 1. Now we've got a car coming in, but it's not an Audi. It's number 43.
It's 43. That car is well down on our list. I don't think that we can get too excited about that one for the time being.
It's the Norma, which is in, let me have a look, 40th place.
Yes, well back.
Yeah. As number 4 comes down through the sweeps. And
it's still showing number 2 as second place in some 53 seconds. So if it has been biased and it has restarted, we've missed it. But there seems to be still consternation in the pit road, and there still seems to be no indication that the car is back.
No. No, the timing screens are showing that the Marcel Fassler Audi is in second.
There is 42, the Adonis Zytek.
Now, just to update slightly, on this number 1 now, we've still got no news on it, but the car in third. There's a car spinning right in front of us.
Yeah.
At the Ford chicane.
And doing it in a position where we can't, all we can see is the back of it. And judging by its lights, it can't be an Audi, but it's in the middle of the road.
It's blocked the pit-in road.
Yeah.
So he obviously came in too quickly and had a quick spin in the pit road.
That's 30 that is just has avoided him now. And now that's interesting to know which car that is, which we haven't. He's moving under his own power again.
I think he's probably in the kitty litter.
Yes, I think he's in the.
He's crabbing along, so trying to get back to the circuit.
And it's number 4, is it? Is it number 4?
There's a yellow flag, post 134, which I would think covers that car that we can see from our commentary position.
Number
Here we
48
are,
spun
48.
coming into the. I could see a 4, but I couldn't see the other number. And it is number 48 that has spun. And that's
the Oreca.
Hartley's Oreca, yeah, it was in 13th place. And that's going to cost him a place or two because he can't seemingly get himself out of the kitty litter. He's stuck there at the moment. And all the lights have gone out, which is another indication that things aren't perhaps what they used to be.
Yeah, the marshal's running to the car.
Marshal's running for...
A very difficult place for the marshals to get to.
Really is an awkward place to be in.
Yes, I used to, some years ago, I used to marshal, and I would not be very comfortable.
No, I don't think I'd be very comfortable standing there either.
No. They may have to, if they can't get that car going, they may have to put the safety car out to move him because...
well, I recall there was a similar situation occurred last year, just after I came off commentary. And I don't think they're going to be able to move that car unless they actually get some help to do so, mechanical help to do so. And I think in order to do that, you're so right that they're going to have to put out a pace car. We shall see.
We can see that we'll see the Audi spinning again, and there's a picture of it.
Yeah,
it only hit the barrier very lightly.
Yes, it whopped the barrier. There's no doubt about that.
Very light, Neville.
Yeah, but we haven't seen it come by, have we?
No.
And yet it's marked here, look, as running still.
It must be out there, yes.
It must be still running.
Haven't come in at all.
Yeah.
So, yes, so Marcel Fassler got it going, and it's resumed. But a lap down now on the McNish number 2 car.
Yeah. And that's the Kaufman Ferrari, which is not marked as being in the pit. And there, as we predicted, they've had to find a way of getting this car out of the way here, and they're going to drag it back.
I think that car had only just come out of the pit, so not very good for them.
No.
Now, keeping an eye on the GT position.
We've also got number 12, the Rebellion Racing car. This is a Gianni car that has just come in, and this looks like a normal stop. They're cleaning up windscreen lights.
No tyres. Oh, yes, they are doing the
yes,
tyres.
at the moment
they're bringing them out.
finishing a refueling before they do the tyres, and they're now doing the tyres now on that car. And there's a driver change as well, and in gets young Master Prost. I don't think you can call him that any longer because he's an extremely competent and capable driver in his own right, and has every reason to favour the fact that he is one of the better French drivers in long-distance sports car racing, Nicolas Prost.
Yes, yeah. And his father was, Alain Prost, was in talking to our French colleagues just the other day.
Yeah, it was very nice to see him here, actually. I haven't seen Alain for a long time, and in fact, he walked in, and I thought, it's Alain Prost, and he'd gone before I could say, hello, dog, how are you? But anyway, hopefully, you never know, we might see him again sometime or other over the course of the remainder of the day. Remains to be seen. Now, they've actually succeeded in moving that car, but having moved it,
they haven't moved it very far yet.
Moved it very far.
Lots of talk going on, and Audi number 2 at the McNish car. New tyres coming out for Alan McNish.
You're sure about that? Because I just thought we'd better just check up my own mind whether that is the car that's coming in. Yes, it is the car that's coming in. This is the McNish car number 2 that's coming in. It is the leading car now, and we would assume that he is going to make his pit stop.
And Marcel Fassler is 50-odd seconds behind him.
Yeah.
So you'll probably retake the lead until they make it their pit stop. So we're going to be seesawing again now.
Yeah, well, it's a similar sort of thing, only the other way around, isn't it, really? As we had last time. Refueling going on. And they've checked the tyres, and he's straight out again.
The checked tyres didn't need them.
No.
And off they go. Saves a bit of time. So that was, he should go out still in the lead. And we'll keep an eye out for the number 1 car coming back.
Yeah.
They are now dragging the Hartley Oreca Nissan off the circuit. They've got it connected up, and it's being dragged back. So the yellow flag should be going in. More cars come into the pits as the Audi goes. I think those are the 2 leading Audis.
Yes, I think so.
Running almost together now.
Yeah.
Yes, we're showing actually Andrew Lotterer has retaken the lead by 1.3 seconds, so it's tight.
And theoretically is due to stop. No sign at the moment that they are in such close battle as we believe them to be. However, there's number 22, and that's the Shanduk car, now in 9th place. This would seem to be a fairly regular stop. Nothing dramatic. He's into tyres now, having had the car refueled. And driver, I'm assuming, I didn't think there'd been a change of driver, but it looks as if a different driver is being strapped in.
The belts are being done.
Belts are being done, so we would assume that perhaps it's not Chanduk who's going to remain at the wheel of that car. Although I can't for the life of me see if there's any indication that he did get out. Certainly the belts were tightened. Perhaps he was just uncomfortable and wanted them tightened up a bit.
And that's allowed Danny Watts to take over that position and go up to 9th position. So well done, Danny. And there are now only 2 LMP2s in front of him, and here come the mechanics from the stranded car to try and get it back into the pits. Waiting for the outcome of that.
Purposeful jog down the pit road.
Yeah, but they are not allowed to go out to the car. There's the car, which is just beyond the pit road. And maybe they're going out to try and... The drivers are not allowed to walk more than 5 meters away from the car.
I think what they can do is they can actually stand there and tell him what to do.
The mechanics can do that, but we can't see them coming out. They're ready to refuel the car if he can get it in. We'll wait and see on that one. Oh dear.
Oh dear, it's not quite as simple as it first seemed, is it?
No.
No, that has got a problem which isn't going to go away.
Well, we didn't see him hit the guardrail or anything, so maybe that's a suspension failure.
Yeah, it may well be that in fact it was the other way on, that he had a rear suspension failure and went off, rather than he went off and damaged a rear suspension.
Yeah.
It seems to me that that's rather settled that problem, and I don't think it's going anywhere.
And I think the mechanics
the guys either aren't thinking it's going anywhere. They're going to go back and drown their sorrows. A sad end to a battle, certainly, that the driver really thought he was probably going to have a chance of winning, but sadly didn't. And he's out over the top.
Back to the Lotterer-McNish situation, 3.8 seconds at the end of that lap. So, but then Alan McNish has probably got a pit stop in hand, although, yes, he's got a pit stop in hand, and he, having just made his stop, Lotterer will come in and fall down.
I'm still fascinated by what's going on with the car that's stationary over there, because the driver has got back into it again, and encouraged by the marshals, we shall go to a break.
Good morning. Welcome back to Le Mans, to Neville Hay and Chris Parsons taking you through the night. Neville, how's the car that was stranded in the pit road?
Well, it's a complete puzzlement as far as we're concerned, because we know that a rear wheel is hanging off. We know the driver got out of it, walked away from it, more than I thought was permissible than so to do unless the car had retired, then climbed back across the barrier, got in it, and we haven't seen it since. But we can't believe that it can possibly be towed or be capable of being driven to a position where it can change its position. Now there we see a very interesting little battle that's going on as out goes number 46. The car that is line 4th in its class, 12th place, Thierry, is coming out after a scheduled stop. We still haven't worked out just what's going on with the leading Audis, because we had anticipated that Lotterer, who had spun his chances away and had lost the lead briefly, was not going to stay back in the lead. He's still got that lead, however, by a matter of just a few seconds, and the cars are lapping at roughly the same speed. In fact, if anything, Lotterer was quicker on the last lap by about a second than Alan McNish, but we think that McNish has got a pit stop in hand.
Yes, Alan McNish has only just made a pit stop, so he will retake the lead when Lotterer stops.
Yeah.
What is very interesting, Neville, is this as always GT battle. In the pros, we've got the Verlander Ferrari, followed by Jean Mello in his Ferrari, and Darren Turner in the Aston. And the Aston is doing 3:58 laps, 3 minutes 58 second laps, and that's qualifying times for the GT cars.
Yeah,
tremendously quick.
It is a very, very quick car, but it's had 2 more pit stops than anybody else in the class.
Yeah, but it's really been pedalled hard at the moment.
Yeah. It had proved on other occasions that it's a very quick car, but it has proved also to be a little bit brittle. But it's quite nice to see the Aston go well, because they've had, of course, their own Aston Martin race here, and at the same time, after last year when they had real dire troubles with their P1 car, then really it's nice to see that they've come back to that which perhaps they do best, which is their GT car, and it's going well.
Moving down a little bit, it's good to see that Roger Wills, who took part very successfully in the Group C race yesterday morning. What there was of the Group C race, because I hope you saw it. There was a very big accident on the first lap, which took a long time to clear up, because Mike Donovan went into the Armco heavily going down Mulsanne on the first lap, and there was a full course yellow, and the cars ran behind a safety car for most of the race. They only got 3 or 4 laps actually in, but Roger Wills took part in that race, and I think he came the 3rd or 4th in the race. He's now in the main race driving the Ferrari, and he's in 30th place, in 5th place in the class. So he's having a good run at the moment.
Lotterer then back in the lead with Audi number 1. With 217 laps completed, and now some 8 seconds behind him. They've just corrected that. The second of the Audi is number 2, Alan McNeish at the wheel of that one. Jarvis in number 4, which is the non-electric Audi. Then Prost in number 12. Well, he still is holding that position, and he's still got an advantage, which I think he's going to hang on to a little bit. There's still a couple of laps, it's stated here, on the Dumas Audi, number 3, which is in 5th place, and then Primat in number 13 is making it the top 6, and there's all of those cars are in P1. In P2, Dalzale with the HPD ahead of Ayari, number 49, that's 44 and 49, and then Watts in 3rd place. Still running, incidentally, in case you're wondering, well, I haven't mentioned him. Is he still in the race? Yes, he is. 42. O'Donnell is still at the wheel of the Zytek, which they're sharing with the father and son team of Martin Brundle and his son. And then in the pro class, that's really quite fascinating, that the Vellanda Ferrari number 51, that's the car that was rebuilt and has had so little trouble. It's unbelievable. You'd think it was just absolutely superbly prepared, but in fact it was a very rushed job. That actually now leads its class quite comfortably ahead of Jamie Mello. And we were talking about the way the Aston Martin was going, 3rd in the pro class there, in 23rd place overall. Undoubtedly the quickest car in the class, but he's had 2 more stops more than everybody else, but he's got somewhere else to go, perhaps.
But now doing 57s, 357s,
yeah.
Whereas Jane Mello in the car in front doing 4.1s. So 4 seconds a lap at the moment. He's catching up, which is good. Another interesting thing to go back to is our friend Danny Watts in the Straka HPD in 9th position. What a pity, because that they lost all that time at the beginning, because he's lapping in 3:38, which is quicker than almost all the other cars except the Audis. Yeah, even the Prost Lola in 4th place is doing 3:40s, and Danny Watts is lapping 2 seconds a lap quicker than that.
Yeah, the Nissan out again. Come on, Liz. I'm surprised I didn't expect it to walk in quite now. Sudden change from the person I was expecting to say, I have to tell you. It's all right, much better.
Very, very much more attractive.
Yes, definitely. We thought we were going to see Stuart Hall, you see. This was quite surprising.
Or Mark Cole,
yeah,
yes.
Or Mark Cole, which is even worse. Yeah. Well, this is the replay of what happened when we had the puzzlement a little while ago, and the mechanics set off to go and rescue the car that couldn't be rescued. We've heard no more of it since, actually.
And we are being told that there is debris on the track at the Porsche S's, and the yellow flags are out there.
Yeah.
Now, we don't know what the debris is. whether it's a piece of car or what's going on. There was debris earlier. Now we are on standby for the safety car, so that would bunch things up again, and presumably Lotter. Oh no, that's a replay of a car going off at the Porsches, but
it is a replay of the car going off at the Porsches, but
the safety car is going out. We can see
the safety car is on its way out.
There it is on the screen.
It's
the Audi
up.
Safety car.
Yeah. In comes number 49.
It could well be that the number 1 car takes its opportunity of pitting under the safety car.
42 comes in as well. That's the Adonis car. And we don't actually know.
It looked like
for it yet.
A Corvette.
Yeah. There is the yellow flag.
There's the Straka car in the pit.
Yeah.
Danny Watts changing drivers in that car, taking his seat out, and could well be Nick Leventis getting in.
Yeah.
Nick is the slower driver, the gentleman driver in that team, and they may well put him in during the safety car period so that the 2 professionals can get the maximum time in the car, and Nick gets his time when the safety car is out, or maximises his time when the safety car is out.
Yeah, we've got the safety car, or safety cars, because there's normally more than one, but we've only actually, as far as I'm aware, seen one go out. Here he is, which comes in number 25 and number 3. The Dumas car is in 2. Here is number 97. That's the Aston Martin. That I reckon is the car that had the problem.
Which is the Stefan Martin car.
Yeah, which has stopped out on the circuit, and I think that's where the problem comes from.
Yeah, and there's the number 3 making it to its pit.
In comes number 3, which was hoping, obviously, that he was going to actually make up some time in the midst of all this, but I think he's going to have quite a job to make anything of this at all. I don't think that it's going to actually do a great deal for his chances one way or the other. It depends rather on how many pace cars are out. Normally speaking, there are 2 or 3 pace cars out, and they collect the cars together. But of course, if you're in the second bunch, you can actually have a bit of a disadvantage there, or the third bunch. And you aren't allowed to leave the pits until you get on the back of the next bunch through, so it can't actually give you any great advantage. Now, here's the number 1 car. That too, I think, has arrived upon the scene, unless I'm mistaken. There's a lot of sweeping going on here.
The safety car rules here are so complex because the circuit is so long. Normal circuits, you use 1, maybe two safety cars, but at Le Mans you use 3, and it makes life very complicated. There are the marshals cleaning up the circuit, and I can't see this safety car being out very long. Can you?
No, I think it's mainly that he's brought an awful lot of debris onto the circuit. There is number 3 going out. Number 1 is in, and we know he had the spin. That now has restarted, and he's going to wait in the queue.
He's held in the queue because they're not allowed out until the safety car's gone by.
So the whole question now depends upon where the McNish car number 2 is, as to which car is actually going to be in the lead.
Yeah.
when they return to the circuit, regardless now of
and there's no sign of the
when
safety car coming
safety
by.
car comes in.
There are lights coming along to the Ford chicanes. Here's the safety car coming in now, so that car is losing quite a lot of time.
Yeah, well, the safety car still with its light flashing, so that's not going anywhere, so to speak. We've still got people coming in to the pits, so are going to have to wait there. Still the lights flashing on the top of the car there, so he's not coming in certainly at this stage. It's when the lights go out on the top of the car, you know that he's about to come in, but you still can't overtake him until he does so.
No, and the safety cars stop at differing places on the circuit, so you can the dice is rolling the whole time on this one. They're now being released from the pit road, but of course no overtaking under the pace car, so
they will presumably come onto the back of a train led by the pace car, but just where that train is right at this moment, I'm not quite sure.
Now, we haven't seen the Aston being recovered. We don't know whether it's made it back onto the circuit, but yes.
Yeah,
so we'll have to wait and see on that one.
Yeah, looking ahead there, I could see right in the distance there was a car, but certainly those two Audis are not. I think it's two Audis. There's just one Audi that's on the back there. Are not actually on the back of a train of cars, are they?
No, they're still catching up.
They're still catching up with the train. It's rather a long time for them to wait before they release them from the...
I think Alan McNish may well have gained out of this one.
It depends. We still don't know how many pace cars we've got out there because they've not been... You think there's all three are out there?
I think all three are out, yes.
Yeah, okay, well, I'd accept if you think all three are out there, but it's rather difficult to tell.
We can see the marshals out on the circuit.
Yep.
Obviously still cleaning up. But we've not seen the Aston being recovered yet.
At this point, Mark Cole walks in and confusion is now complete because we have a pace car situation. I'm explaining for his benefit as well. We're not quite sure how many pace cars are out there. We think there are all three out there, but we are looking, in fact, for this thing to sort itself out, which is a result of the Aston Martin having a moment which we didn't actually see happen, but we know caused debris onto the circuit and caused the pace car problem in the first place. So that really adds up to what happened. The only other thing we don't yet know is that as a result of the pace car coming out and which pace car came up where, who is in the lead, but we believe it is Alan McNish, who is still a pit stop, if you like, ahead of everybody else, because he's only had 18 stops and the 20 the Lotterer car has had, but now we believe to be in the lead. So that would seemingly settle that situation. Jarvis still in third place in car number 4, and then the Prost Lola, and then in 5th place up there the Jordi Jenny Audi, but that remains to be seen as we come up towards a commercial break now, and when we come back perhaps the second will be clear, and it'll be clearer exactly who's doing what with which and to whom. Welcome back again to Le Mans. Welcome back to the race now, which we believe firmly is led now by Alan McNish with car number 2. Behind him is Andre Lotterer with car number 1. All this is, regardless of the gaps at the moment, a little bit sketchy because we've still got the pace car situation brought about by the Aston Martin, which had a moment all on its own. We've not actually seen just exactly what happened to it because it was out of camera. But what we do know is that it brought a lot of debris onto the circuit, which is what brought the pace cars out in the first place.
Seems that they're giving the circuit a bit of a 3,000-mile service as well. There seem to be marshals out all over the place, sweeping up the kitty litter that's come onto the circuit. Maybe it's just a spring clean at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Could well be, you know. I mean, we haven't seen any of the mist that you promised us that was going to have such an effect on everything. But anyway, there you have it.
Well, we've still got an hour to go for that, Neville.
We have.
Yeah. Morning, guys.
Good morning, Mark.
Mark,
very nice that you should come and join us.
Liz and I have travelled in.
I don't think we'll go. Yes, Liz. I know that in fact she has mentioned to us today, and she came in that she has driven all 4 classes. And we will ask her opinion on this.
Absolutely. You mentioned the fog. Funnily enough, just coming in from the south, from Avec, our patches of mist along the road, but I think the overriding thing, we've seen the picture a couple of times, the most beautiful dawn coming up in the east, normally comes up in the east, and this is no exception. And of course, coming back here, happy birthday to Dindo Capello, who reached the grand age of 48 at 1 minute past 12 this morning. It was the Queen's birthday yesterday, as you all know. And
it's Father's Day today also.
I'm just getting to that, and yes. I'm just going to ask Chris, how many of his children and grandchildren have already been in touch?
I've had a text from Timothy in Singapore.
Excellent.
So
what a good boy.
So it's only the other 2 to go now. Come on, Lucy and Georgina.
Well, I've heard nothing.
Up you get.
It's just gone 4 in the morning. I've heard nothing. Never
Disgraceful.
Well, I know I've got 1 card actually because I was told you can't open that until Father's Day.
I've got exactly the same.
Yeah.
So they'll be doing that soon. So Toyota's gone obviously during the night. That's a great shame. And
yes.
Chris. Yeah. You actually gave us a note, didn't you, about 6 o'clock last night, saying who would have put money on Toyota still being in the top 3 after 3 hours, and not long after that, they actually took the lead momentarily. That seemed to be a switch for all the troubles.
Yeah, but didn't they do well? They way exceeded probably their own expectations, quite frankly.
I think they're to be congratulated. The cars looked absolutely stunning, didn't they? But it's just such a shame the way it ended. And we do understand this morning that Anthony Davidson has a couple of cracked vertebrae, but will be allowed out of hospital. Whether it's today or tomorrow, we're not sure. There was a message last night saying he was likely to stay in the hospital in Oman until Monday, but we'll obviously get more on that from the team later on as we there is that dawn. Look at that. It is going to be a beautiful day, guys.
Yeah,
cracked vertebrae are not funny. I know I've had them myself, but basically he's going to have to be a little bit careful, and life will be a bit painful for about 6 or 8 weeks or so, but all things being equal, it should be well quite soon. Now here Liz is going to come and join us because she's so much better looking than you, and I feel much better with her sitting next to me than I do with you sitting next to me. And I'm going to ask the question in a moment or two. This question of the various categories that you have driven. We had a discussion earlier on today, which Johnny was quite firmly of the opinion that sometimes the quicker drivers have not too much consideration for slower drivers and vice versa. It depends, but if it's a quicker driver, you've got to take a chance. Now that is presumably the Aston being... It doesn't look like an Aston.
It doesn't look like an Aston.
Doesn't look like an Aston.
It looks like a Porsche. That very much looks like a Porsche. But the Aston, when I very briefly saw it on screen, didn't look like it had just had a big shunt. It looked like it had stopped. So I'm not convinced that was maybe from that accident. I think that was a sort of a separate situation.
It's showing as having done a 10-minute lap. So, but everyone else is doing a 7-minute laps. But the Aston showing as having done its last lap in 10 minutes. So
yeah, I mean, it certainly was stopped, but whether or not it was the reason for the safety car, I mean, I don't think it was. But that was certainly a very large accident. We'd really like to know who that was. I think that was a Porsche of some description.
Well,
yes, that's the first.
We would agree. It didn't look like an Aston Martin from that angle at all, did it?
No, and you know, going back to what you say, I think sometimes, yes, when there's a big race going on in LMP1, the car, they are pushing very, very hard, but I think sort of as the slower drivers as well, you do know what speed they're pushing at, and when you see them coming, you do expect them to be coming at a rate of knots, to be honest. And it is the overtaking car's responsibility to overtake carefully, but at the same time, I think when you're at Le Mans, if you're in a slower car, you have to pay attention to the speed at which, you know, they're closing in upon you, and it is a bit of a two-way street there, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, this basically supports completely what we were saying before, because another driver said to me sort of a year or two back that the thing that surprised him most of all was that some of the people with the best reputations were the worst possible offenders. You make what you like of that, but you know, it really was causing problems. Yeah,
well, the guys at the front they're pushing very hard, and they're up against it. They're under a lot of pressure to put in the performance, and look, Le Mans has got more of a closing speed issue and a different sort of traffic issue than you find at any other circuit. It's very wide. You can fit a lot of cars in at once. We've seen a few accidents happen that way. You've got very, very long straights, so the actual like I said, the closing speed between, say, an LMP1 car and a GTE amateur car will be even greater than you find at any other circuit. And I think sometimes it's hard for the slower car that's being overtaken to really judge that approaching speed.
Yeah.
But as we said earlier, it's always been the same way.
Yeah, it has. You're absolutely right. It's always been that way. And
it doesn't matter whether you're reading with 60 drivers, it used to be back in years gone by, or whether you're 150, 160 drivers now. You can't actually find enough really capable people who are, if you like, going to be bulletproof. You're always going to have a problem where somebody doesn't perhaps do what you expect them to do, or doesn't spot the thing, as happened for Alan, so that's what can happen.
Nice.
Here we have James Mello's Ferrari that's had its complete 20,000 mile service, I think.
Yes,
then Neville, they were renewing a little bit earlier. We saw them renewing the actual brake discs, so it really has had the complete works, that car. But that's what you do under a safety car. You do that sort of. They were probably going to have to change the discs anyway, so you do it under the safety car.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, Chris. And this is about the time they'd be looking to do sort of a once-over on the car anyway, given the opportunity. And probably what happened was, as you say, I think the team was waiting for this sort of chance where there was a safety car situation and thought, right, we've got a few things we've got to do on this car. Let's move fast and get it done together. Just getting a shot of the lights on the side of the car there. Those two lights lit up does mean that they're running in second place at the moment. And look at this. We've gone away for not very long, but already we've got GTE cars on the first page of our timing screen.
Yes.
There's a lot of hours left in this 24 hours to go, and to see them already up there shows the attrition rate of some of the LMP cars.
Yeah, and they're going to move up a little bit further because the car in front of them is the Hartley Oreca, which, as we know, has been stopped for some time. And so that car will just slide off the screen, and the GT cars will move up even further.
The other thing I'm seeing that's a little bit of a shake-up is that at the moment there's an HPD engine car leading LMP2, and we've heard a lot of Nissan saying the one thing they could almost guarantee is that Nissan would probably win the LMP2 class because they have so many entries. Well, this would not make them happy at all.
Wouldn't make them happy, definitely. I'm just looking there. I saw a pace car go away to my right there, which seemed to be going back into the pit road as opposed to...
No, I think it was an official car.
Or was it an official car?
Yeah, I think it was. We've still got the waving yellows here. We've not had any notice yet on the screen.
I just saw the blue lights on the top, but what I was thinking was that this has already caused a little bit of fun, because if you look, as we can here, at the timings, the gap between, for example, the Nicolas Prost Lola and the Marc Genet Audi has swollen as a result of this.
Yes.
Because they must be in different bunches behind a different pace car. Now,
You've got a car off under pace car there, Neville. I've seen this happen so many times so far. It blows my mind, to be honest. I think that is the Jota car. It does look like that to me. I'm not sure who's on board.
That's been off several times. It had what looked like a complete electrical failure going down to Tetra Rouge. And lost quite a lot of time there. And as we said, we saw Sam Hancock go off off at this very corner in qualifying in that car. Luckily, there wasn't too much damage.
As near as we can tell what actually happened when he went off before, it was a failure of lights, of electrics, of everything. He ended up with no engine, nothing, right out, came to a stop, thought, right, well, that's that. They actually towed it, moved it off the road, and then suddenly all the lights came on. Bob's your uncle, and off it goes again.
Oh.
We were completely banjaxed by this.
Wasn't that nice for them? I bet they were thrilled.
Yes, they were.
I think they were thrilled to get it back.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like the man Chris was explaining, but once upon a time, there was a man who had an electrical problem here, and in the long grass, he found a battery.
No.
Yes.
You're being serious?
Just left. Yes.
What? That's
They've
crazy.
explained this to me that it actually happened.
That's crazy.
Yeah. That's what we thought.
Right, we've just seen a note on our timing screen saying for the team manager of car number 1 to report immediately to race control. So I'm not sure if Andre Lotterer has been a naughty boy or something that we don't know about. Please fill me in, boys, if you know something I don't know.
Well, all we do know is that he did go off, and when he went off, there was a complete and absolute sort of, we saw great consternation, did we not, in the Audi pit?
Yes.
Nobody sort of seemed to know what was going on, and then he sort of appeared in second place, just like that.
Oh.
And he didn't come into the pits or anything. Then he had a scheduled stop. And then we got into mine.
I know they have some damage they're driving with.
Yes,
he
touched the barriers.
Yeah. Okay, but could have something to do with that. Maybe that's a damage that the ACO feels they need to be fixing at the moment.
So the other thing we can say now is we can see that the Stefan Mucker Aston Martin has rejoined the train, so that car doesn't seem to have sustained any damage. It's going round in the train, so it's still third in the GT Pro class.
It was running third before, but I'm guessing they've lost perhaps a lap on that car. It does look like they've lost a lap, but at least they're still going, so that's brilliant.
Now, Liz, the magic hour. Come on, tell us about it.
Oh, this is a really cool time of day. I actually got to drive this stint in 2007, and it was amazing. Coming up over the Porsche curves with the fog over the edge and the sun coming up, and it is amazing. And it's one of those feelings where you sit there and you think, oh, we made it to the daylight, and then the realization comes that the race isn't over till 3 p.m. You sort of feel like you're nearly there, and then you start doing the math, and actually there's a lot of hours left to go. But it's an amazing time of day. Sometimes this is when the very fastest times get put in to the race car, because it's really cool, sort of settled down a little bit, the track's got a lot of grip, and it's just amazing to come into dawn at Le Mans. It is really, really cool.
So we call this Liz's magic hour.
It was for me anyway. Our car sadly didn't make it much past that. But,
I don't think we'll go too deeply into this. You know? I mean, the whole thing is getting not the sort of
swiftly
conversation
onward,
for a Sunday on Father's Day.
Oh no, it's moving swiftly onward.
Now we see on our screen that the team manager of car number 1, which is the Andre Lotterer car, report immediately to race control.
Yeah, that's what we just talked about actually, and we're thinking that's possibly because of the damage on the car.
Yeah.
We'll wait to find out more information about that as soon as we can. But I'm very shocked to see only 6 LMP1 cars at the top of the charts. I'm sure over the last few years we've seen a lot more than that.
Yeah. There seems to have been sort of a fair amount of unreliability in the LMP1 class or category, but you can't help but feel pleased that you can see that Dalzell has got his car up there now to what, 7th place overall?
Yeah, very impressive.
Very impressive, and as somebody said earlier on, this whole question of 2 as a category is probably the cheapest way to go motor racing if you want to take part in long distance races. I'm not too sure that that's correct, but this is what has been
said. It certainly is now with the cost capping.
I was going to throw that one to you, because is that not because really LMP1 now is manufacturers?
Well, LMP1 is manufacturers, and LMP2 is sort of, you know...
It's cost capped, as Liz says.
It must have, you know, a lower rated silver driver in the car.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, it's made a difference, absolutely. And I think that's why we've seen such a big grid in LMP2 this year. We've got 20 cars in the class, a huge amount of variety, a lot of cars that can win. And I think it's been brilliant, frankly. As LMP1, there's literally one amateur driver in that entire class, and that is Nick Leventis, who's currently in the car and doing a really cracking job, might I add. He's really stepped up.
You're a pain that, you know, there are an awful lot of these drivers who are supposedly silver or what have you, that perhaps the category, I don't know whether this categorizing really works. Does it work?
Well, sort of.
So.
I mean, there are some drivers that you look at them and you say, silver rated? Like, he was winning races 10 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? But it's, well, I think we all talked about this earlier in the show and saying, if a team's clever, they can figure out the rankings and think, oh, actually, we could put 3 guys together that are quote-unquote rated the right way and silver-rated, but actually our silver-rated guy is about half a second off our pro driver, and then you can have a really hot combination. But I do think it's a really great thing to do. It opens up the classes, and it's made it possible for privateers to stay racing in LMP cars, and that's a really good thing.
Well, I like the idea of privateers still racing, but I'm not too sure that you know, that as a privateer, if I was racing, I wouldn't like to feel that I'm only getting the drive because I'm a privateer. I think, you know, if you want to go motor racing, you can go motor racing. Period.
Yeah, but it's a financial issue, isn't it? I mean, certainly I was here with a wonderful privateer team in Intersport Racing, and we definitely felt on the back foot with about 6 guys total in our garage working on it, and you look over at Audi and they've got 42 per car, something like that. And I think what it does is it just opens the window for the really great teams like Intersport who want to stay at the top of the game and maybe don't have the finances to compete with a factory operation.
I hate to say it again, but it's always been that way, hasn't it?
Yep.
You know, LMP1, LMP2, C1, C2. Always, you know, that's one of the great things about sports car racing, is that you can take part in it as an amateur or as a lower rated professional.
Yeah, I mean, you basically have to be able to get the drive and have an international B license, and if you can get your entry to Le Mans, then it is possible to be there.
Yeah. Now, we don't know about the state of this car. We're looking at the Primate car, the Lola, which suddenly seemed to give up, didn't it? About an hour and a half ago. Lost a lot of time.
Yes. It was losing consistently about 10 seconds a lap.
But it's still running in 6th overall, with Harold Primat on board. Yeah. Harold, who has been a long-time competitor in LMP1 now. Now looking at the Krone Racing car, how are they doing? Where are they?
Well, they had a spell in the garage, I'm afraid, but they seem to have given the car a good once-over, and they're out again. And
I understand this green is patented Krone Racing green now, so nobody try and steal it. You won't be able to get it. I'm sure that's, you know, broken a lot of hearts out there.
Yeah, actually, if you just happen to like green. I mean, I know the blondes look nice in green, but not necessarily.
Well, you know, at least you can't miss it on the track. If you're a Krone Racing fan, then you get to see the car going by without really even looking up. Yeah. You can spot it out of the corner of your eye quite easily.
I think they're very pretty cars, actually, these latest Ferraris. They are sort of a great improvement, and they do look right, don't they? You know,
they definitely look the part, yeah.
Used to say, if it looks right, it goes right.
And we've still got quite a good mix-up at the front of the GTE categories. We've got Ferrari in front in GTE Pro, followed by Aston, followed by Ferrari. So the Corvettes have kind of dropped away there a little bit, and that makes me very sad.
They've spent long times in the garage, I'm afraid, Liz.
Right. Well, thankfully, they are leading in the AM class, which is fantastic. We've got a different mixture there. We've got Corvette, followed by Porsche, followed by Ferrari. So we've still got the full mix of the marks in the GTE category. Not too much drama going on there, I understand. Yeah, it just seems to just keep trucking around.
Yeah, but just before we go to a commercial break, this does seem to be a long safety car period, rather longer.
Doesn't it? Yeah.
I don't know whether the barriers have been damaged, and they're having to repair the damaged one, and we haven't seen the car come in yet. But,
yeah, I would suspect that that's some damage to the barrier, probably a pretty big cleanup. We saw very, very little. I think where the accident has happened has been somewhere out where we don't have many television cameras to show us what's going on.
Not at this time of day.
Not at this time of day, no.
But we're just going to go to a quick commercial break.
Yes.
And stay with us, and we'll get back to you very, very soon from the pits here at Le Mans.
And I will say goodbye.
Bye, Chris.
Bye, Liz. Bye, Neville.
We've got quite a lot of cars to cross off the list, haven't we, here? Right, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. That's better. Bit loud.
That's because I'm deaf.
Right, that's the Samsung. That's the Sony.
Making a lot of noises, isn't it?
Presumably, that any car that's grey is out, Liz, isn't it? So we've got 44 runners, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll catch up with the marker of doom a little later. 44 cars still running and out of 56. We're now on for... We're on for the next 3 hours. Well, welcome back. Welcome back to Eurosport. Happy hour, fast approaching. Almost dawn here over West France, La Sarthe. I'm Mark Kerr, with me Liz Halliday and Neville Hay, who's done an amazing job all through the night, the graveyard shift. And Neville, you've always enjoyed this slot, haven't you?
Yes, I have. I don't know what it is about the night at Le Mans, but I've always found it the most exciting part of the whole thing. And oddly enough, something always happens. You know, you can never be really bored for very long, although the pictures aren't perhaps the pictures that I'd like to have. We do have a situation where we've got some decent pictures now as the light is getting better and as more people are sort of waking up to the idea that we can see some racing and actually get the cameras back on again. It's still fun, and it gives you time to talk a little bit about tactics, it gives you time to talk about various drivers' opinion about who should do what with which and to whom. And also the other side of it, of course, is that you get various happenings during the night, and you don't always actually know what's happened until the explanation starts to ease out a bit. And The one thing we did have, which I thought was rather sad, was that we'd not had any problems at all with the Chevrolets for years. They seemed totally bulletproof. And yet, I sat down here and they all started falling over by like ninepins.
That's the way things happen.
Yeah,
of course,
very rare.
Hopefully we have had the big one already. That was Anthony Davidson's huge accident yesterday, together with one of the backmarker Ferraris. Anthony, I think at the moment still in hospital. Liz, you had an update, didn't you, on this?
Yes, yeah, we understand that he has cracked 2 of his vertebrae, so a bit worse than we thought. He was complaining of back pain, but initially, because he was up walking around, everybody thought he was all right. So they are expecting to release him from hospital today or tomorrow. So he will be, definitely not hospitalized for the duration, but certainly I think he's actually been fairly lucky there, and I was a little bit concerned when he said he had back pain if he had done some vertebrae damage, because he was up in the air and came straight down upright at such a velocity that I'm sure it was a huge impact for his spine.
Third sports car driver in recent weeks or months to get cracked vertebrae. Of course, Timo Bernhardt had an accident in the Audi after Sebring, and then just 2 weeks ago, Jan Moreau, who should have been driving for Pescarolo, he cracked 2 vertebrae in his big accident. Driving for Oak, Pescarolo,
yes.
yeah.
And I think both of them suffered much greater injuries than Anthony Davidson did. So he's been quite lucky there, I think, really, with the size of the accident that he had. And we do wish him a very, very fast recovery, and hopefully he'll be back in a race car sooner than we can even imagine.
So we are racing again, racing into dawn. As you can see, that iconic image at Le Mans, the Dunlop Bridge, as the Krone Ferrari, which we just saw in the pits a few minutes ago, back in again.
Yeah, no, he is back in again. We are still under safety car following the accident of the 75 car, the Porsche, which was Prince Al Faisal at the wheel. We've not seen too many pictures, but thank you for everybody on Twitter who's helped to confirm for us that it was at the Porsche curves. An accident in the Porsche curves is never small, and we are green flag again on the racetrack. So they must have gotten that cleaned up. We'll give you more information about Prince Al Faisal as soon as we have it.
Yes, I'd like to know that. I think I'll tell my wife about these vertebrae, because she fractured one of hers last year.
Was she flying through the air in a race car as well?
No, she was flying through the air, but it was actually in somebody's drive.
Oh.
I think
it fell across a small wall.
Yeah, I think you have to realise Neville lives on the Isle of Man, and every day is TT course time for Dorothy.
Right,
so
okay.
She's fantastic on a bike, you shouldn't believe it.
223 laps completed then. We're not going to break any records this year after, was it 2 or 3 safety car periods? It's Audi 1, 2, 3 if you're just joining us. Alan McNish on top of the pile, as Alan would tell you it should be. Andre Lotter in second place, having had a fairly lurid spin in Porsche Kurz, which cost him the lead. And Ollie Jarvis, Newmarket's finest, in third place. But Ollie just 1 lap down on the other 2, but that's pretty impressive, isn't it, for the 3 Audis after... Where are we now? I have to look now. 5:30 in the morning and 9.5 hours still to go. Audi looking very, very solid at the top. And the 4th Audi, in case you're wondering where it is, that's in 5th place. Marc Genet at the wheel, and that is hunting down Nico Prost's Rebellion Lola.
Yes,
yeah.
We reckon that he might do that. And at one time, we'd worked out that it was probably going to be between 10 and 11 o'clock. Well, after this last little bit of a problem, it might be a bit longer, because the gaps have changed as a result of the pace cars, but we shall see.
Well, they've number 4 car has really clawed its way back and done well after a few little glitches early on. And very impressive to see the Lola with Nicolas Prost at the wheel right up there in 4th place. They are a couple of laps down, but certainly if Audi had a problem now and they were able to keep things together, we could see a petrol car on the podium.
Well, it'd be something, wouldn't it? I still don't understand, with all the time and trouble and the money that's been spent, why we haven't actually had a proper challenge to the diesels from the petrol car now for quite a long time, because the efforts to make quality sort of equalise the situation between the diesels and the petrol just haven't worked, have they?
No, they haven't. They seem to sort of install new regulations every year to attempt to equalise them, but it just doesn't seem to be making a difference. And I know they're going to try some new fuel measures in the next couple of years, which may actually do the job. They have cut back the fuel again this year, but it's not been enough to sort of change things. And I think a lot of it just comes down to the amount of man hours that go into the Audis, and just the full factory support that is happening there. They just have more resources and more time and money to put towards the development.
It's partially that, but I think also it's the drivability. We were saying this a little bit earlier on, that having spent a fair amount of time driving petrol cars all my life, I went over to driving diesels a while ago, and there's absolutely no question in my mind that the diesel cars are easier to drive. Hello, we've got somebody else who's got a little bit of a problem here. It's number 13.
No, that's the number 13 Rebellion car. They've had quite a few problems lately. They've been in and out of the pits, haven't they?
Harold Primat on board, one of the Aston Martin refugees, along with Fernandez from last year, and Stuart Hall, of course, one of those as well, our colleague.
It goes quite well backwards, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's just come. In fact, can we not see it from the cabin?
I think
not quite. No, it's
fairly close to us, though.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what's. Oh, looks like he's still going. That is the exit of the Porsche curves, actually, where he is. So I don't know if he's had a bit of a whoopsie there and gotten very, very lucky. It's about. Oh, God.
That was tight.
I'm actually surprised he didn't wait there for one of the marshals to wave him forward, because his peripheral vision to the right would have been dreadful, and you just can't see the cars coming anyway. And such a speed they're coming around that turn. You can see even the GT cars very, very fast.
If you came up to a yellow flag being waved vigorously by that marshal there, I think you'd make a slightly better effort to actually back off a bit.
Well, now he's got himself in a reversing situation across the track.
Next thing, an even bigger mess.
Next thing we know, it'll be team manager of car 13, report to race director. Wait to hear.
No, I don't think so. Surely not. This is Harold is clearly doing the best he can and having a few troubles with the car. That's the trouble with these race cars. You can see they're amazing on the track, but very difficult to turn around in this situation. It's not sort of your standard 3-point turn in a road car, and also it's very, very hard to get most of these prototype cars into reverse, and I think that's sort of what we're seeing here. We're actually encouraged by the teams not to use reverse whenever possible, because it's quite hard on the gearbox. I normally just wave my hands about and get a marshal to help push me back to avoid it, which is what's happened there in the end.
He's okay now. He'll get that car away. So we've mentioned what's happening in P1, part of it in front of you on the screen at the moment. P2, I know Neville and Chris were talking about how high the P2s have been running this year. 7th overall for Ryan Dial in that HPD Honda. That's the Starworks car. It's going to be a good day for America if they can pull that one off. And Ryan, of course, only his second time at Le Mans, came last year with Paul Gentilotz's, no, 2 years ago, Paul Gentilotz's somewhat ill-fated Jaguar program. Never really got off the ground, that, did it, Liz?
No, it didn't. Here's just a replay of that spin, and Harold did really well not to lose that. Very impressive. That's the last place in the world you want to have a spin.
Well, there'll be a change of overalls at the next pit stop.
Yeah.
And, so 7th overall, as we're saying, for Ryan Dial, and that's only been bettered in recent years by the Stracker finish when they won P2, 6th place overall in 2010. Danny Watts, Nick Leventis and Johnny Kane, what a great job they did. Peter Dumbreck, he's in 9th place in the one of the other HPDs, and looking down to GT, we've already mentioned Jimmy Bruni leading for Ferrari. They're in 19th place, and as Liz said, they've crept into the first page, which is the top 24, from Stefan Mucker and from Fred Makovicky, who's our pole man in GT this year. He's still very much in the hunt there, although there is at the moment, Liz, a 1 lap gap between the top 3.
There is, yeah, but that's not very much, though, really. A 1 lap gap at this stage of the race is not too bad, and I think we'll find that creep its way up with Makovicky in the car.
Yeah, the GTM class is still rocking and rolling. Patrick Bornhauser for the Lavra Chevrolet team is there, and behind him on the same lap is Nico Armindo driving for Raymond Marak's IMSA Performance Matwood Porsche team. That again is a car that has won here in GT2 in the past, and just to remind you, won the 2nd round of the World Endurance Championship at Spa just a month ago. And what we mustn't lose sight of, Liz, this year is this is back in the pack, in the fold, as a round of the World Endurance Championship. Been a lot of years where Le Mans has been standalone, but it's been brought back in by the FIA, the work by Jean Todt, president of the FIA, working with the ACO and with the American Le Mans Series, trying to pull everything back into one pot.
And I think that's done a lot of good things for the numbers in all the races, really. It's given people encouragement to do the World Endurance Championship, because they get help with their they get a guaranteed entry at Le Mans, did they not? Am I right? Because it's part of the championship.
Oh, yes, very much so.
And that is a very tasty prize indeed, and I'm sure they did that on purpose, saying,
it's a ticket,
let's bring them in.
To ride.
It's a ticket, yeah.
Well, there's one thing that we've all missed. And that is that all of a sudden the situation has changed at the head of the field because Lotterer is back in the lead again.
Oh, so he is. Well done, Nev.
Well noted.
I'm not sure when that happened.
Just
I think what
exactly how that happened, I don't know.
A safety car is what happened.
I'd say so.
And particularly as Lotterer's had one more pit stop than Dindo Capello. Happy birthday, Dindo. And Ollie Jarvis all had 20 stops, but Capello one stop less at the moment, so there's no way that that's going to be clawed back. So Andre Lotterer, despite a lurid spin in the Porsche curves just before dawn, is back in the lead of the great race.
Well, I think that was just what they needed, actually, was a safety car. And it's just pulled them back together, and that gap that they had just evaporated with a safety car, and away he's gone now.
Liz, can you just tell us who the principal retirements are on our screens at the moment? How many cars still running of the 56 starters? And
well, let's see what we can see on this screen. I'll have to change it to get the rest. Is the number 48 car, and that's the Oreca LMP2 car. They have officially retired. The Porsche of Mark Lieb, number 77, that is retired. The Lola of Luca Mora was at the wheel, number 31 car, LMP2. The Ferrari of Monte Calvo, 58 car, that was the GTE amateur car. They've also retired. 24 car of Olivier Plas, such a shame there. They went so well early on in the race and so fast. And the number 7 car of Wirtz, which has been retired now for a little while. And we can switch to our other page.
Yep, I've got the marker of doom out.
We've had the 29 car was our first retirement, of course, which I think has already been marked off. I shall try and change the screen without doing horrible things to all of our timing screens.
Number 8 Toyota, of course, Ant Davidson.
Yes, of course, and the number 81 car, which was wrapped up in the accident with Anthony Davidson.
Yeah, that was with Pier Giuseppe.
And very sadly, the 0 car, which we lost just as our way in tonight. Very sad to lose the Delta Wing after such a tough fight from them.
Yes, Neville, we've been away since midnight. Any news of any sanctions against Nakajima for that accident? Which,
no, there's been
put the 0 car off?
No question of anybody being brought to book over that. I think that, you know, that probably the chatting will go on for some time about that and the other one, but I think that we discussed at some length, and we've just done so a little earlier on with Liz today, that this question of traffic has always been a problem one. It's always been a problem because even when there were just 60 cars and 100, you know, 60 cars and drivers, it was a problem. It's a problem with 3 drivers per car. And really speaking, I don't think what really helps very much nowadays is that it is very, very much more difficult to see out of the back of these cars. You really can't see very much behind you. Johnny was saying that, you know, you're aware of the car, and it's almost a sixth sense that can save you sometimes because you just can't see anything.
I think what I've always tried to do, and what a lot of drivers do, is you check your mirrors. You're very aware that a car is coming up behind you at very high speed. When you're about to approach the corner yourself, you have to recognize that car could be on top of you and give it one more check in the mirror. And especially where you know which side of you they're probably going to pass you on. And maybe just in some of the situations like what we saw in the huge accident with Anthony Davidson, is maybe that I feel the driver of the Ferrari should have just given a little lift, because he knew he was going to pass him. He definitely was. It wasn't going to affect his lap time. I mean,
I don't think he saw him at all. That from watching it, I just don't think he saw him.
He saw him coming, but he didn't judge how fast he was coming. And that's where I think he should have just given it that extra little look before he turned in. And I think that's what most of the professional drivers do in the GT class, is they are aware the car is coming, and just before they turn in, they give it another little look, just to make sure they aren't about to turn in on a car that approached faster than they expected.
Yeah, well, it's certainly, you know, a misjudgment of that nature, of that to that extent, would strike me as to be something that I wouldn't want to do. And if I felt I was going to do that again, I wouldn't want to be driving a car like that again. I don't think a professional racing driver, an amateur racing driver, should not be making a mistake like that. That was a real one.
No, I agree.
The other one was a little bit different. The other one was a little bit different. The 2 Japanese gentlemen falling out over a piece of road, well, you probably couldn't see the one car. because it is a different shape and everything else. But
Zero car, you mean? Yeah.
I think there was a reasonable explanation for that.
Yeah, and I think that was a bit of a tricky situation. I mean, the Delta Wing was difficult to see, and at the same time, I do think that the number 7 car probably should have had a little bit more of a look as to what was going on around him. He knew he was busy in traffic, and he was quite focused, I think, on what he was dealing with around him directly, that he didn't sort of look to what else might be on the track. And this is part of the trouble you get when you have the safety cars release the leaders in the middle of the pack, is you've got them charging on through. And one of the things we used to do when I was racing here is the team would, before we went green again in a safety car, they would let me know if there was any of the leaders right behind that were going to be coming through, and who was sort of around you, so that you're aware that there's going to be very fast moving cars behind you. And I think that's really useful.
Well, you do get that in quite a lot of racing, and I can't for the life of me think, bearing in mind that the Clark, of course, seemingly is able to talk to the drivers.
Oh no, not the Clark. My team would tell.
Yeah, but the team, well, the Clark, of course, could talk to the team, and the team could talk to the drivers. It does seem to me that that's a very reasonable thing to sort of say, be aware of the fact that you've got the 3 Audis backed up behind you, and they're really not liking each other much, let alone you.
No, we're just going to go to a quick commercial break. We're on board here with the Corvette number 73. Stay with us here at Le Mans. Lots more action to come. Welcome back to Le Mans. It is the magic hour. We're just coming into dawn here at the Le Mans 24 Hours. We've had quite a few cars say goodbye to us in the middle of the night, but the number 1, 2, and 4 Audi still charge ahead at the front of the field. Mark, it's been very exciting. We had some huge accidents earlier in the night, and let's just hope that those were the worst that we're going to have in this race.
Yeah, put them all behind us. Principally the number 8 Toyota of Anthony Davidson tangling with a Ferrari. Just before that, Romain Dumas had a massive accident down at one of the chicanes in the number 3 Audi, and that Audi spent the rest of the race trying to claw back its 3rd place. It is up to 5th at the moment, right behind the Rebellion Lola of Nico Prost. Marc Genet is at the wheel, and of course just after that, after the safety car was released for the Davidson Perazzi accident, we had the 0 Nissan Delta knocked off by one of the Toyotas, finishing its race very, very violently against the wall, and that was Japanese on Japanese, Nakajima knocking Motoyama off.
Yeah, which we were saying, we're very surprised that nothing has happened, and no one's been called up from the number 7 car, but perhaps they thought they got their comeuppance with the accident.
Yeah, but particularly after last year, I mean, because it was such a high-profile accident with Mike Rockenfeller, poor Robert Kaufman was immediately suspended from the race, and that was it.
Yeah, no, I'm very surprised they didn't do anything about that.
He's back this year, so obviously there's no hard feelings from the ACO on that now. But yeah, it's been, hopefully that's the worst that we've had, and you've just picked up something on the screen.
Dindo Capello has just done a fastest sector time. Actually, I was just saying earlier that this is some of the fastest time of the day as we watch a prototype go straight on at Mulsanne Corner, I believe that is.
Extreme Limité.
Didn't look like it was going to be too big a deal. I think he just locked up on his brakes.
The only Norma in the race.
Incidentally, if you're just joining us here and you're crazy enough in the UK to be up at 4:46 in the morning, we're very happy to have you here with us. Please do feel free to send your questions, comments to me on Twitter. I'm afraid I'm the only Twitterer that is on at this very moment in time.
One is quite enough, Liz.
But it is, but it is at Liz Halliday, LIZHALLIDAY.
I've got today's forecast up in front of me at the moment for Le Mans, Pays de la Loire, which is where we are. It's 10 degrees centigrade at the moment at dawn. It's going to be a sunny day. We're going to have a high of 20 degrees today and no rain, but tomorrow is going to be extremely wet, which is lovely for all the campers and all those in open cars heading back home.
Oh, lovely. Wouldn't
goody,
it be nice?
Goody gumdrops.
And people that rode in on motorbikes and thought that was a great idea. Well, a lot of respect for her. I wouldn't do that.
Yeah,
I see the Aston Martin is up to 2nd place now in this class.
Yeah, that's rocking and rolling again. Yeah. Stefan Mucker then coming back up.
Lapping quite a bit quicker.
Yeah, and those, again, as we said, those top 3 GT Pros all on the same lap, 202. That's Bruni, it's Mucker and Makovici. And right behind them, is Kurosawa in the Zytek, so they're just ahead of one of the P2 cars there, all on the same lap, so we'll keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, and just looking on board with the e-tron Quattro, you can see how the light's starting to change as the sun comes up. Very soon here you'll see that we start to get a lot of glare, especially coming over the Porsche curves. That's one of the trickiest parts as the sun starts to come up. The drivers, of course, have, you know, not in the open cockpit cars especially, have not been able to have a shaded visor. They've been in a clear visor in the night coming into the day, and it is very, very tricky for them. Another fastest sector time on the track right now is a Pensia TC in the LMP2 car number 26. So a lot of faster times to come at this time in the morning when the track is so cool, I think.
Yeah, again, it's like a switch has been turned on, isn't it? Suddenly we are getting these fast times. 3:29, the pace of race leader Andre Lotterer, which is still 6 seconds off the pole, but it was quite unusual to see cars dipping much below 3:30 as we went into the evening. As you say, it's all coming back now.
Yes, it is. No, I think this is the sort of time when a lot of the cars will do their fastest lap time. Things have settled down a bit. There's a few cars retired, so you know the track's opened up a little bit. It's rubbered up, it's cool outside, it's optimal for these cars. You can just see there as the e-tron Quattro passes a car, that Porsche putting his indicator on. This is a new thing they've suggested at Le Mans. We've not really seen that before. And I think a lot of that has come from the accident that Mike Rockenfeller had last year with Ralf Kaufmann. So really good to see, or Rob Kaufmann, good to see that they're actually implementing that now. And we sort of hoped that we might have avoided the accident that we had earlier with the number 8 car and the 81 car.
That was a very fair indication that you know, he wanted him to pass him and where he wanted him to pass him, and there couldn't be any mistake made over it. And I can't see any reason why that can't be done. And at least you are letting the guy who's coming up behind you that you know he's there.
And I think, you know, like I've said quite a few times, I think the closing speeds are just so immense these days that, oh gosh, someone nearly getting the doors shut on them. But see, you can see there the professionalism between that Corvette and the LMP2 car. The Corvette knew he was there and he just lifted off a little bit and just braked that little bit harder, letting the car get around him safely. And sometimes there is that give and take that's needed. Yes, the onus is on the faster car to overtake safely, but there must be a two-way street on that. Pardon the pun.
Daily Sports Car, our good friends who have the Internet's best sports car racing service, and thanks for all their help. All the team are here and a great job. We do rely on them a lot. They are reporting that Ollie Gavin, although he's in 41st and last place at the moment, is the fastest GT on the track at the moment. And I think we mentioned already, didn't we, about Murphy Prototypes. That is the latest retirement. Liz just did read that out. 14th official retirement of the race, and that's a car, of course, that Brendan Hartley was making his debut here at Le Mans. I think Brendan, we saw Brendan during the evening, who's thoroughly enjoying the race, but of course that has now changed. I'm sure you get to that point and you get through the night, and when the car retires, oh, what was that all for? Oh,
it's the worst thing ever, as well as when you get out of the car and you go for a bit of a rest, and it's that fear. It's almost hard to rest because you're fearing the worst of someone waking you up telling you the car's no longer in the race or that there's a problem. And it's the nighttime when we start seeing all those little gremlins creeping into the cars generally. So it is very difficult, and oh, I've been there too many times myself. I know what it's like to lose a car at Le Mans. It's so depressing after all the hard work.
Brendan, one of 42 rookies who started this race this year. That's quite something. We did have 43 on the entry, but Maxime Jus had some sponsorship problems and lost his seat at the last moment. We had the only one woman driver in the race, Keiko Ihara, a former beauty queen, or grid queen as she was called, from the Japanese GT and Formula Nippon series. She'd always wanted to race at Le Mans. She had her moment of glory, but unfortunately it was a very rocky road with the 29 Middle East Lola. Yeah,
they've had a very, very rough season so far. She was the only driver that even managed to get the qualifying laps into the car before the race started, and then she never got to sit in the car at all. It was our first car out, really, within the first 2 hours.
And the others, amongst other stats, 15 Formula One drivers racing this weekend. The most notable, perhaps, Sebastian Buemi and 15 previous overall race winners, who between them had 26 race wins. So it just shows that it's such a draw still, Le Mans. You can come here and you win Le Mans and you think, that must be it, that's the peak of my career, but then people come back and back time and time again.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I would come back every year if I could, especially in a race car. So it's just such a special place. I don't think any track is like Le Mans in the world, and the atmosphere is unbelievable. The whole week is just overwhelming, to be fair, with all the fans, and everybody who is a fan of Le Mans makes the trek out here to see it. They're all so dedicated. It's just amazing. They just love this race as much as we do, and it makes it what it is.
We haven't had the official crowd figure yet, but last year certainly 270,000, and it's increased exponentially year on year, Le Mans, and no reason to doubt, even with Peugeot pulling out, that it won't have attracted certainly the huge British contingent, 65,000 of them who come down under the channel on the trains or on the ferries, P&O ferries and DFDS, all the others. They carry huge loads this time of year. Extra ships are put on, extra trains are put on, and as we mentioned during the programme, this is actually the second biggest motor race in Britain, Neville.
Yes, I like that. I was waiting to see how you were going to get yourself out of it. I was very impressed.
And haven't they said it, you can see this from space or something crazy like that? I heard a comment.
National Geographic, yes. Yeah. They did identify this as the world's biggest sporting event in terms of it being visible from satellite as a change over a normal day-to-day, because they pick up on all the parking, the tents, everything. And
how cool
the world's
is that?
Biggest sporting event, even bigger than a U2 concert.
I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
Makes me very proud.
It's the ACO who put that out, so we didn't invent it.
No, that's brilliant.
Of course they would.
Well, yeah, they would say that, wouldn't they? But I think it's fair to say that, you know, there are 3 real races, and for whatever reason, Monaco, Indianapolis, and this are the 3 races, aren't they?
Yep. So the great race continues. 230 laps down for our new leader, Andre Lotterer. I say new leader, he's led most of the race. He did have that slip in the Porsche curves, which cost him the lead for a while, but he's back out front now, and this is last year's winning car. And these 3 drivers, Lotterer, Marcel Fassler and Benoit Trullier, are really 3 guys at the top of their game, and they are so fast, these 3. They know how to win Le Mans. They finished second the year before. Can they pull off another?
Well, I think definitely, I think they can. And speaking of these faster lap times coming in, Dindo Capello's put in another fastest sector time in Sector 1. Certainly the birthday boy is trying to give it all he can this morning as we come into daylight here at Le Mans. Going down to LMP2, it's still Ryan DL in the lead in the HPD, and with so many Nissan engined cars in that group, it's crazy to see HPD on top. I'm sure they're absolutely thrilled, and only about 2 cars down from that, and then the next 2 down from that as well are the other HPD engines. So really seeing a strong performance there from them. And Mark, they were talking about looking for people to come on board with them for the future, aren't they? I think HPD is looking to be a really strong force here over the next few years. Yeah,
Honda definitely want to be back here as a factory team, which of course points either to GT Pro or more likely to LMP1. They've seen what the other Japanese teams are doing. We have Mazda's John Duan on last night telling us about how important Le Mans is to them. They're going to be running a diesel engine, well, they're going to provide diesel engines for use in LMP2. Now the regulations have opened up to them, and already Patrick Dempsey's team is going to be running one of the development chassis. Sylvain Tremblay's Speed Source team will be running the other, and that's going to be a test bed for LMP2 engines of the future. We've got, as you know, Nissan, huge coverage. They've done it very cleverly. They haven't sponsored a single car apart from the Zero Delta Wing, but they've spread their load across the field, working with Zytec very closely, and they have a very good chance, unless HPD take the win, they're leading the category at the moment, they have a very good chance of taking the whole podium. Andre Lotterer.
Now that is a very, very fast sector time indeed. He's just put in, I believe, the fastest sector time in Sector 1 of the entire race.
Of the whole race, yeah.
Just coming back to what I said earlier, this is when we're going to see the fastest times coming out.
He's done another quick S2. It's not the fastest ever, but this could be something around a 325, the way he's putting that car around the circuit. Obviously, Andre is just really, really comfortable in that car. The circuit's coming back to him. We've got full daylight more or less now, and well, why not go for it?
And isn't it great? I just would like to say a shout out to everybody around the world listening to us on Eurosport. We've got people from El Salvador, Melbourne, Australia. We've got Sydney. We've got people in America. I know my mum's listening. Hi, Mum, over in California. And it's just, I think that's fantastic. Thank you, everybody, for being up at your various hours listening to us.
The English Eurosport service is available, we're told, to 33 million households. So it's not just you guys in Britain who are still fast asleep, probably, but everywhere, all around the world. Thanks for those tweets, everybody, particularly El Salvador. I'm really impressed.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, a lot of you, of course, watching on Eurosport Player, which you can access. Just go to eurosportplayer.com. It is a pay service, but it does mean if you're not on cable or satellite range of the English-speaking Eurosport, you can pick it up through the internet. So just note that. So Andre Lotterer, very, very fast first sector, fastest of the race so far, 32.2. Just waiting for him to complete that lap, see if it is going to be a 3:25. No, it's not, because is that Lotterer? No, it's not Lotterer coming in the pits. Yes, it is. He's aborted the lap, as it were.
Yeah.
Come straight into the pits, but what an in-lap.
Oh, man, quite special. And I think we've got a lot to come from him. If anybody can bring the challenges, Andre Lotterer. And perhaps he's just trying to stretch the legs of that Audi a little bit, just pulling away from Dinder Capello while he's got the chance in these better conditions. A few of you have been asking what's happening in the Martin and Alex Brundle car. Well, currently Lucas Ordonez is in that car doing a very, very good job indeed, putting in very consistent lap times. They're currently running in 8th place in LMP2. I think they had the odd spin earlier on in the race.
Yeah, they had an alternator problem as well.
Yes, they did, and in another slightly slower stop in the night, I believe.
Yeah.
But they're now on track, I think.
A lot of alternator problems we have heard of in the LMP2 class. It's no reflection on the Zytek engine. Of course, it's an ancillary, and the Zytek Nissan, but it has always been a bugbear, hasn't it? And a lot of teams still run 2 starter motors in case one of them fails, because one of the rules that's always remained at Le Mans is the car has to be started under its own power.
It does, and quite often that is a struggle in some of the LMP2 cars. And in a lot of other racing, you are allowed to bump start the car, which is where the team can give you a push, and you can just dump the clutch in second or first gear and get it to fire off the flywheel. But certainly not at Le Mans, you cannot do that. And I've been one of those people that sat there going, come on, to the starter motor, and there's nothing you can do but push it back in the garage and wait. And that horrible feeling of putting your finger on the start button and praying it's going to fire and you can get it back out on the track.
We've got to the magic 6 o'clock in the morning here at Le Mans, 5 o'clock UTE. And you know what your time is. UK, UTE.
And the UK as well.
UK too. You know what the time is wherever you are if it's not in one of those places. Stuart Hall has emerged, was driving for Pescarolo, but never actually managed to get in the car for the race. Neville, we're going to say goodbye to you in a minute, but before we go, I'm going to do what we do every year. We're just going to remember those Le Mans heroes that we've lost over the past year, and one of them I want to start with. Peter Gethin died in December. Never raced at Le Mans, but he'll be forever associated with Chevron in sports car racing.
Yes, he certainly was. I knew Peter reasonably well when he was coming up sort of through the other formulae. I think his major claim to fame has to be that he was one of the very few people who actually beat Formula 1 cars with the Formula 5000 car, which did it at Brands Hatch.
Race of Champions.
Race of Champions, a fantastic performance, really was.
Francois Migaud, he died in January. And again, he was a Le Mans hero. 3rd here in 74 and 81. 2nd in 1976 for Mirage. Last raced here in 2002 with the Condo Dome Judd, and retired after 12 hours. Not many people remember necessarily that Francois also raced in Formula 1 in the car called the Connu.
Yes, he did. And he was also a friend of a chap that you used to know quite well, Mr. Kreisky. Do you recall that years ago?
Oh, yes, indeed. Yeah, much missed Brian Kreisky, who used to run Video Vision, filmed Le Mans for many years on behalf of Rothmans Porsche, and then on behalf of Chris Parsons and myself when we were running Oscar, and we were...
And none of them have been the same since.
Right, let's other ones we've lost. Alan Mann, he died in March, age of 76, a Le Mans entrant with Ford, of course.
He had some superb cars, because of course he was heavily involved in the GT40s and the things like the AC Cobras, and also in the other Fords too, and had the reputation of actually preparing immaculate cars.
Yeah, Chris Lawrence, he died back in, I think, just before the turn of grandson of the year, didn't he? Chris Lawrence will be forever associated with Morgan. He took that win in 1962 here.
He did, and was responsible for quite a lot of the work that went into the Morgans that ran here reasonably successfully, sort of a few years back when my son was driving.
Yeah, it wasn't just plus fours, of course, the Aero 8. That was also one of his great things, wasn't he? So, yeah, so that was a great loss as well. Butzi Porsche, son of Ferry Porsche, died at 76, creator of the 911.
Yes, the Porsche family now, of course, then have quite such a close arrangement with the company that bears their name as they had, but nevertheless, tremendous effort on part of one family who not only played a huge part in the car that bears their name, but also in the pre-war cars of Auto Union.
Yeah, we've already talked about the loss of Carroll Shelby and Roy Salvadori, the 1959 Le Mans winners, and Ted Cutting, who designed that car. Les Leston we've touched on, but one person I think everyone in the paddock misses very much this year is Lola's Dave Scotney. Dave died in March. He had been ill for some time. Been with Lola for 34 years, including the Nissan Group C program.
Yeah, I've got to just hark back to Roy, who was a close personal friend of mine. I can remember extremely well. He came here with a cigar to Aston with the intention of doing a run on the Mulsanne before it had the kinks in it, what have you. And it just wouldn't do it.
He took just 1 year out of Lola in all those years, and that was to run John Fitzpatrick's Porsche team in 1984. So they've gone, but they won't be forgotten, Neville.
Certainly not.
Neville, thank you for being with us through the night.
Well, I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and I hope that you've enjoyed it, folks, and I look forward to seeing you again sometime in the future. Bye.